Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse episode 314. I am Peter and joining me as always is Matt.
Hey, what's up?
And returning from, I think you technically left to go on vacation when you first left, but it's been like a month now. Connor's returned.
Yep, it's been a while. Work schedule.
Coming from the nether realm.
Yeah,
no?
That died to death very quickly.
I thought you were gonna follow up with something.
No,
you sounded like you had more to say.
I didn't.
Yes, for people watching the video version, Connor is just a white sheet with a ginger border right now.
Which you might ask, how is that different? But in this case, it's the sun is baking him alive.
Yes.
It should cool down soon. Hopefully, maybe. I mean, I'm not that optimistic about it.
Yeah. Well, this is a DC Comics podcast. We get together, we talk about comics that we've read every week from DC. Coming up on this week's show, we have Dark Crisis, World Without a Justice League, Superman issue 1, Superman Son of Kal-El issue 13, Wonder Woman 789, Batgirls issue 8, Batman Urban Legends issue 17. Well, let's assume Matt read at least part of that.
No.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
Not this week. Not this week.
All right, well, that's good. Happy days. Naomi season 2 issue 5, Rogues issue 3, and I believe Connor has read at least one Patreon book, possibly two.
Two.
There you go. So 2
Patreon
Patreon
I owe
books.
both of June still.
There you go. So
It's
I know
July.
one is Batman Fortress issue 2 because David was getting inventive.
It is. The other is Noctera issue. I want to say 9.
Here's a question. I assume you didn't, but just in case, did you go back and read issue 1 of Fortress for context?
No. I don't.
Good on you.
That's funny. Well, I read issue 1, so maybe I could fill in some gaps if I remember anything.
I don't have any questions. It's fine.
Okay. I wonder if you disliked it as much as I disliked issue 1 then, going from that comment. We'll find out later.
We will indeed.
So yes, that is what's coming up on this week's show. Now, I was hoping we'd have solicits this week, but the way it's worked out is we won't get them till next week now, so fair enough. That's okay. I guess we'll just survive.
I bet we got slammed with loads of books next week as well, don't we?
Probably. It's probably just one of those weeks. It's the epic week. So, yeah, we'll look at the list of books coming ahead at the end of the show like we always do. But don't worry, guys. There's always time for a ComiXology top 10. So
I've not missed this.
So we start the show.
Is it
baby.
X-Men? Is it Batman?
Technically it is X-Men. It is X-Men Hellfire Gala issue 1 is the #1 book right now in ComiXology.
They're doing another one of those.
Is that one shot? Was it?
Hellfire Gala was an event they did last year. It was like a whole thing where people like voted on like various designs and stuff like that, I'm sure.
Okay, fair enough. I guess that's what it is. It's an $8 book, so yeah, so it's just a big one shot that they're doing as a special. Number 2 is Immortal X-Men issue 4. Number 3 is Axe Eve of Judgment issue 1, which is a Kieran Gillen book, so you should know what it is.
That's the new event, I think. Or I think that's the lead into the event, because the event's Judgment, I think.
Okay.
Axe is... I don't remember what it stands for. I'm sure it stood for something.
Yeah, AXE. It's an acronym. I assume it's X-Men related, hence the X, but I mean, I'm just making a...
I don't remember. See, the thing is, I'm not up to that point yet on Marvel Unlimited because I'm 3 months behind. So,
it seems like they're doing something with the Eternals with them.
yes.
So it's Avengers, X-Men, Eternals. That's what ACT stands for.
Okay.
Sounds like a big mega crossover.
Because Eternals is the book he just did and kind of finished off.
Yeah.
Before before he jumped into the X line.
The Eternals are upset that the X-Men have conquered death. So that's what the hell that leads.
That sounds very... That actually sounds quite good. Damn it.
I don't know. Try to make Eternals a thing still, I guess.
That Eternals book's bloody good, though.
I'm sure it is. I just I don't... They seem redundant, the Eternals.
It feels very...
I get it. They play it, at least the first half of the book, it's a murder mystery as to who killed one of the Eternals and managed to make them stay dead. And then,
I saw the movie. I know who it was.
I don't think you do.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't see the movie, but I'm pretty sure you don't. And then that but with Asad Ribic art.
Yeah.
It's good.
It was Cold Snap. I know it was.
Damn it, Pete. Stop spoiling things.
I don't know. For some reason, the way they're pushing Eternals right now, because they just had a movie, is giving me Inhumans vibes when they didn't have X-Men for the movie, so they were pushing Inhumans really hard.
Yep.
At least there's a good creative team on this.
Sure. I mean, yeah, the books may be great.
Inhumans had a good creative team too. He had Soul, and I forget who was on art, but it's just, I don't know.
But they tried to make that an ongoing, didn't they? And it kind of fizzled.
Yeah.
Whereas at least Eternals, it was like this 12-issue series with a couple of one-shots, and that was it.
Well, then they were told, Soul, just go take care of Star Wars, and you don't have to worry about anything else.
And he's doing a great job of it.
Yeah. So, you know.
Number 4 is the first DC book, which is the Dark Crisis Worlds Without a Justice League Superman issue 1, which is it just rolls off the tongue, that title.
Yeah.
Number 5 is Daredevil issue 1. Did they go back to issue 1?
This is our
Yeah.
I almost picked it up, but I'm not caught up, so it would have been just redundant.
But it's the same writer. Why is it back to issue 1?
Because
it's a Marvel book.
Yeah.
This is stupid.
It says after the rain comes the dawn. So they did that dark, or it wasn't. What was it called? It wasn't Dark Rain. That was something
Devil's
else.
Rain.
But Devil's Rain.
Okay, I get that it was Elektra for a while, right? I know that was the thing that was going on, but it's just weird to me to go back to issue 1 when it's still the same, run effectively.
Like I said, this is a Marvel book. How many times did Aaron's Thor reset to number 1?
I mean, no, I don't get me wrong.
Least they changed, but they always change the name. Here, it's just Daredevil 1 again.
Yeah, this happened to Mark Waid's run, where it changed back to issue 1 at a certain point during
Didn't
it.
This happen with Lemire's Hawkeye as well, where he had 2 issue 1s within the same year as well, I think.
Yeah. So, I'm not saying it's unprecedented. I'm just, they hadn't done it in a while, and I was hoping they'd gotten over this nonsense. That's all.
I gotta get caught up on this book, because this sounds good.
Number 6 is Marauders issue 4. Number 7 is New Mutants issue 27. So X-Men are all over this top 10. There's a lot of X-books this week.
The X-books are really popular right now.
Yeah. Number 8, which is really weird to me actually, because it's just not I like X-Men as a concept, and there's a lot of X-books that I like, but none of it right now is appealing to me.
I think it's the fact that they're that they've been shunted back into their own separate little pocket, and they're all. It's self-contained as its own little universe. So if you follow one X book, you basically might as well follow them all. So you end up just being dedicated to having your own little mini universe, just like an X universe. And sure, there are links with the wider universe, obviously the Axe stuff, but pretty much you can just read just X-Men, still read 10 books a month, and have a feeling of a wider universe.
I feel like X-Men's been on and off kind of that for a long time.
It has, but I think this is the first time we've had it since early 2010s.
Because I think there was readers back in the 80s and 90s who would just read all the X books. They wouldn't read the rest of Marvel. They would just read X-Men.
That's absolutely true, but I think this is the first time we've had it like this now since probably before Avengers vs. X-Men.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, because Aaron had him for a while with Wolverine and the X-Men
and that was its own separate book, but it wasn't a whole line that was.
No, that's what I'm saying. And then they did the Avengers vs. X-Men, and then it spun off into the Ejectiveless Brian Wood X-Men.
It's
basically,
and
then you had the Bendis stuff, right, which was the all new.
Yep.
Yeah, it's ever since they brought what's his face? Hickman. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Ever since they brought him in, it's kind of become its own little corner because they were doing so many weird things with it.
The start of the Hickman stuff, all the Krakoa era of X-Men, basically is entirely its own universe at this point.
Anyway, number 8, we're back to DC, thankfully, with Superman, Son of Kal-El, issue 13. But then we're back to Marvel with number 9 for Fantastic Four, issue 45. Still Dan Slott on that. And then number 10 is Wolverine, issue 23, with Benjamin Percy and Adam Kubert on that. So this is a very Marvel talk. And don't get me wrong, last week was DC heavy. Last week it was 6 or 7 of the books were DC. This week it's 8 of the books.
There's a lot of X-Men
Marvel
books this week, though.
How many? I only read 5 books this week too, so this makes sense. So
there wasn't a ton of DC books this week.
Yeah, so there was actually, of the 8 Marvel books in the top 10, 6 of them were X-Men related.
Yeah.
So that just
you mentioned Dan Slott there. Did you guys already laugh about Dan Slott in the last couple of weeks? Did you do that already?
I haven't given Dan Slott much thought, no.
He's going back and he is doing another run on Spider-Man. Yeah, yes.
He must hate himself.
The man who has already written more Spider-Man than anyone else ever is doing more Spider-Man.
Well, I mean,
wow.
They already got Romita Jr. back doing Spider-Man, so you might as well get Dan Slott back too.
It's him and Mark Bagley, I think, is doing the art on the.
Oh,
I don't know if they take.
So from Ultimate Spider-Man, it's Mark.
Yes.
Okay.
The artist who has done the most Spider-Man, I believe. He's actually done more Spider-Man. He's actually done more Spider-Man than Dan Slott has.
That's funny, but notably not 616 Spider-Man. So technically, he's in new territory.
I mean, he's done some 616 Spidey.
Aye, but most of his Spider tenures on Ultimate.
It is. I just thought it was funny. Just like that was your big exciting announcement. Is Dan Slott's doing more Spider-Man? That's
kind of nuts. Looking down for more DC, Urban Legends at 14, and then 16 is Rogue, 17 is Batgirls. Wonder Woman's all the way down at 22, so that's maybe sliding a little bit.
Rough. And yeah. I'm surprised to see Urban Legends as relatively high as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
given it's a pricey book.
The rest of the DC books I've got named being lower than that doesn't surprise me, but Wonder Woman being that far. I mean, the thing with Urban Legends is that it's got Batman in the title, so even at $8, it still does relatively quite well.
It does. I just didn't realize it was selling more than some of those others by quite that amount.
Yeah. So it's one thing when it's like minis and it's like more niche characters or new characters that haven't quite gotten over with the mass audience yet, but Wonder Woman's main ongoing book being that low down is a little bit concerning. Makes me wonder if there'll be a new team on it before too long, but something they can advertise with a big new launch of some kind.
Would maybe not be too mad if they did.
More thoughts on this week's Wonder Woman later. So there's your ComiXology Top 10, everyone's favourite segment of the week. You heard me. Everyone's favourite segment.
I heard you, I just disagreed.
So there you go. Yeah, I didn't get any news this week, by the way. It was
Did you look for any, or was there just not any?
No, I looked through Newsaramas last week, and there was nothing.
I saw creators posting stuff about issues and reprints and stuff like that, but nothing really.
Nothing earth-shattering. Yeah, it was
not DC specific, but I know there's all the big shit going on with Oni Press.
To elaborate.
Have you guys not seen? Basically, Oni Press is spiraling into bankruptcy. Canceling contracts all over the place. Anyone who had to create their own book with them, it's basically just cancelled and done. Whether that was being published already or not, they're just falling back to just things that are established IP only. A lot of creators are having trouble getting payments out of them, it seems. It's not great.
It's just a shame. Not really much more to add, or I don't think.
Yeah, it sucks for the creators more than anything. On for the books that were coming out. I don't think anything from Oni Press specifically, but I'm sure they had some books that people were fans of.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever read an Oni Press book. Now I'm thinking about it.
I think that was the first publisher that did Soul Strange Attractors, because they have a. I think that's on my printing of it, but then it's been reprinted since by, I think, whatever Marvel's subset is.
Yeah.
So.
And Once and Future's coming to an end with issue 30. Just sad, but 30 issues, that's not bad. Might you be able to read the whole thing when it's nice and ready?
That'll be good. I am still waiting on the third trade to pick that up. So.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting to start the third trade of Department of Truth, because I finished the second trade this week.
Are you reading those physically or digitally?
No, physically trades.
Okay. Just because I'm aware that they are on sale on ComiXology this week.
No, I did not, but I have the third trade. I got it on Free Comic Book Day. It was just finishing the second. That Bigfoot story was a lot to take in.
Yeah.
So yeah.
On I guess slightly tangentially related stuff this week, not DC specifically, but Miss Marvel wrapped up this week, and I did actually go back and watch the last couple. Did you finish this, Matt?
I never started it.
You never started it?
I'm feeling a bit.
What's going on?
Yeah.
He watched the Marvel series and Matt didn't.
I'm just feeling a bit burned out on Marvel right now. Outside
finally.
Yeah. Which I like. The TV shows aren't doing it for me like they were. Hawkeye was a bright point. Moon Knight was fine, and I'm just
I only watched the first episode of Moon Knight. The sad part about Miss Marvel is that I think the first episode is easily the best first episode any of those shows had. It was the only show out of their entire batch that felt like a TV show. Sadly, the middle 3 episodes were really bad because the villains they introduced were terrible. It got good again for the finale, but so there's a lot of potential for the future, but it was a really mixed bag overall.
Heard the finale was very emotionally charged, which made me curious. Which I'll eventually get to watching them. But
it was just fun for the most part. I mean, there's a big tease for the future that everyone's sort of freaking out about, but
and like I'm still there for the movies. I just like
I've not seen Thor yet. I've still not watched Doctor Strange 2, despite the fact that it's readily available.
Love and Thunder I really enjoyed. It's not like this Phase 4 is just, I'm definitely feeling the post Endgame kind of where are we going, and I've seen people defend it like
Endgame was 3 years ago. I just want to put this out there. Endgame was 3 years ago, and we're still just sort of waffling with all these movies.
Aimless. Even with No Way Home, and which I liked, but people gave way too much credit because it hit those nostalgia buttons. But like it's aimless, and I have a friend. We all know who this friend is. I'm not gonna name drop them, but defending everything that Marvel does.
Gary Busey.
It's not. If it was Gary Busey, I would say Gary Busey.
If we were friends with Gary Busey, everyone would know about it.
Yeah, I would never shut up about it. But they defend it, and it kind of drives me nuts because it does feel aimless in a way that Phase 1 didn't, because you kind of felt the Avengers building and each little piece, and so far none of these pieces feel connected, even the TV show.
I'm just like it's not even just
Wanda from WandaVision and Wanda from Doctor Strange feel like 2 completely different characters.
Oh sure, yeah. It's not even just the aimlessness though for me that's the problem, is I'm just so sick of how toothless these movies feel. And I haven't seen Thor yet, but the weekend it came out, the reviews weren't that great. There was a kind of mixed, and a lot of people were saying it's basically just a comedy, more so than Ragnarok was. And that's frustrating because, and having read the Aaron comics that the villain's taken from, and like even just the Jane Thor stories taken from.
One of the few things that you don't want to see as a comedy.
Yeah, I don't want that as a comedy. I want to feel the impact that I did in the comic. And but here's the thing, Matt. I saw some people try to defend it online by saying just switch your brain off because it's just a fun comedy. And I'm like, 2 things. First of all, this story should not just be a fun comedy. Secondly, that's insulting to good comedies, because good comedies don't require you to turn your brain off. In fact, they're usually funny because what they're doing is smart and witty.
Right, but we haven't had a smart and witty good comedy in quite a while. I'm just
I don't know when one's been either, but like is this
and I feel that void, but no, but like the character is the God Butcher, right? Like it's in the title. I will say they do Gore justice. Like he's not the brunt of the jokes. However, it's a Taika movie regardless. Like you feel his fingerprints all over it, which is good, because I keep seeing criticisms of these Marvel movies as they just feel like pieces of tapestry, part of a greater thing, and the directors aren't being able to leave their mark. Here, I felt like Taika left his mark for good and for bad, because there's a lot of stuff in there that you're just kind of like, okay, this is what we're doing. But no, I feel as a longtime Thor fan, they did the Jane Thor story justice. So, Gore,
honestly, Matt, you're one of the few people I know that have said something positive about this movie. So,
no, I've also, a friend James basically said, no, it's a Taika movie. That is a good thing in that if you want that, but also it doesn't really fit as a Thor movie.
No, so
that's the problem with it.
Whereas Ragnarok still felt like this was Thor, and like Taika did, what Taika does, but it was still very restrained, and he still had. Here they were kind of like, kind of do what you want, but here's this, and it's the inverse of Jojo Rabbit, right? Where Jojo Rabbit has these really big emotional things with a bunch of silly stuff peppered in, and this is almost all silly stuff with some emotional stuff peppered in. So,
I mean,
it's just a weird direction.
With Thor is that it feels like, because Dark World kind of sucked and everyone didn't like it, and it did a bit lesser than the other movies at the time, it kind of felt like they said, well, try to do serious Thor doesn't work, so we'll just let it become something else, and it became this comedy with. It's almost like their Aquaman, right? Where it's like, stop pretending to just be Thor in the comics and just let this be funny Chris Hemsworth doing his thing.
It's kind of weird because obviously the first movie, the Brandon one, I know it hasn't aged as amazingly, in that none of the Phase 1 movies really have. But it was this whole like, okay, Brandon brought his Shakespearean angle to it and kind of did that contrast, and then Dartwell was terrible. No, I'm not defending that. But then they just dropped everything that worked about that first Thor movie and just went, screw it. Let's just change direction entirely. And I felt like that was a mistake.
I don't know. Ragnarok still felt right, though, because they're doing these cosmic and Thor.
I think Ragnarok's overrated. Like, I had a decent time with it, but I do think it's overrated. And honestly, the biggest problem with these Marvel movies right now is that Spider-Man was alright, right? I kind of like some of Spider-Man. I thought I had some good things to say about the character, although some of it was a little bit, nostalgia button heavy. Every Phase 4 thing I've seen so far has by and large just bored the shit out of me. Black Widow, I thought was really mediocre. I was full of problems with that. Shang-Chi, which people said, it's great, it's this martial arts movie, it's doing a Jackie Chan movie in the MCU. There's one scene that is kind of trying to be a Jackie Chan movie, and then
I still like Shang-Chi a lot,
and it's mostly overshot, so you don't really get the impact of like being impressed by stunts. It's like too CG, it's too flashy, too much slow motion, stuff like that. So I think it failed on that promise, and then I hated the back half of that movie. Like, I just despised it. Eternals, like, I appreciate some of the big swings that it was trying to take, but it was just dull. The characters weren't likable. It's kind of weird, though, that, like, as far as I know, nothing from Marvel has referenced the fact that there's a giant celestial sticking out of the planet and it's huge. Like, it would be a tourist attraction at this point.
Well, even then, like, and I don't need everything continuity to line up, but when you have a shared universe, you kind of want a little bit of references. It's like if you're paying attention, and I forget which movie, but they're talking about the Hulk's fight in Harlem. I think it's in Iron Man 2. I can't remember, but there's a slight reference in there, and that type of stuff. So, like, sudden a celestial popping up, you would think would be referenced at least in some of these TV shows. But then, even then, it's very frustrating, and people just eat it all up, and it's like, okay, cool. I'm not going to tell you to not enjoy things. Like, if you enjoy it, fine, but let's not pretend, that this is all figured out. It's like, that said, Pete, I do think you'd enjoy the Raiminess of the back half of Multiverse of Madness.
Okay, yeah, you're saying that, though, but are you aware that I dislike every Sam Raimi movie except the ones called Evil Dead? Yeah,
and I think that being that he really channels Evil Dead in the Marvel Universe for that back half.
Okay.
You're gonna hate the first half. I'm not gonna lie to you. The first half, you're going to be like, oh, this is Raimi I do not like.
Honestly, I have thought about watching it like 5 times, and I can't bring myself to do it. I just don't want to.
And again, just like what I said with Taika with Love and Thunder, Multiverse of Madness, for all its flaws and for all its strengths, is a Sam Raimi movie. And it does hit that Evil Dead. Now, of course, he has to rein it in. You can't have Deadites in the Marvel Universe.
Why not?
I mean, theoretically, you can, but yeah. So
every time I think about watching it, because I think, I should, just to keep up to date, and like, it's this big thing that keeps moving. Every time I think about it, I'm just like, I just don't want to. The thought of sitting down and watching this is just not appealing to me.
I've still not seen a Marvel movie since Endgame. Like, none of them.
You're not missing much, to be honest.
Is Hawkeye. Even though they're all there, just on Disney Plus, right? I could just open it and watch them. I have Disney Plus, but the more of them that there are, the more that I have to catch up on, because you do have to catch up on them. I can't just jump into the latest one now. I have to actually watch through them.
No, I will tell you, Connor, you would probably enjoy WandaVision and Moon Knight.
I watched the first 2-3 episodes of WandaVision, and I thought it was awful.
It pulls together.
It gets worse as it goes, Matt. What are you talking about?
I don't think so.
The ending's terrible. WandaVision is good until the last 2 episodes, and it goes down the shitter.
Yeah, did I watch 2 or 3 episodes of WandaVision?
I think I watched 2.
I really liked when them jumping around and trying to figure out everything that was going on, and then what they did. But
it just turns into a generic Marvel fight at the end. It takes everything that was interesting about it and just shoves it down the toilet.
But then they take that character that they established of Wanda and completely undo everything to make her the villain of Multiverse of Madness. All the lessons she learned in WandaVision do not apply because we need her to be.
Mike, do you want to know how I know I don't care about Marvel anymore, or the Marvel movies anymore? Is that I have just not held back with looking at spoilers. Like, I looked at spoilers for everything, all of the juicy stuff that was in Multiverse of Madness. You know, someone had a spoiler for the ending of Ragnarok, and I'll just click on it. I don't care.
Like, Thunder.
Oh, sorry, yeah, Love and Thunder, not Ragnarok.
I mute all of the Marvel things on Twitter, but not because of spoil. I don't care if I get spoiled, but more just.
You just don't want to hear about it.
I just don't want to hear about it because whenever they come out, they do just flood my timeline. Like, this is uninteresting to me.
The most I ever felt like Pete was when a friend tried to grill me for not enjoying No Way Home as much as he did. And he tried to appeal to like, oh, well, my friend who doesn't like Marvel thought it was the best one. I was like, bud, it doesn't explain X, Y, and Z problems that I had with the movie. I'm glad he liked it, but this is why it didn't work. And that's when I hit my limit, where it was like people are just liking things because it's the brand. And I don't do that with Star Wars, and I ain't doing it with Marvel, so.
Yeah. I mean, how I feel about Marvel right now is kind of how I feel about Star Wars for decades at this point. So, I mean.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I like Star Wars a lot more, and I consume all of that still, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I would say it's well known there is significantly less of that still than Marvel.
Yeah.
And
for now.
Also,
we'll see.
I mean, even if they turn it into, constant TV shows.
Yeah.
They have even 3-4 movies a year on top of that.
No, but even Connor had issues with Book of Boba Fett, because me and him were talking about that. Where Connor's not liking Star Wars to like Star Wars. You know what I mean? He it's fine. That said, did you watch Obi-Wan, Connor?
I did, and I liked most of that a lot.
Yeah.
It's not flawless.
No, it's not. But as a story about a man rediscovering his faith is a perfect use of that character.
I'm curious because the general complaint I've heard of Obi-Wan. Now, I watched the first episode because I was forced to, and I thought it was just really dull and boring. But the general complaint I've heard about that is that it's a 2-hour movie that's stretched to 6 episodes, and there's a lot of spinning in the first half or so.
I disagree. There's a lot of people who complain about one episode in particular being filler, and I don't think people understand what filler is.
No.
Me and Matt had this discussion. Yeah, me and Matt just had this discussion, not about Star Wars, but I was complaining because I saw people online saying season 3 of The Boys feel like filler because not enough changed at the end, and I think they're crazy because there was so much character arcs in that season.
That is how I feel about this specific episode of Obi-Wan, where I'm like,
which one is this? Remind me.
It's the one where they're escaping from the Inquisitor's temple.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? How can you possibly think that's filler? That's bizarre to me.
Actually, since I brought up The Boys, I saw a great quote from Eric Kripke yesterday.
Oh, I know which one this is going to be.
This is so good. There's some swearing in it and stuff, so I'll have to censor my paraphrasing from memory.
I almost brought this up about 15 minutes ago, and then we got to Marvel.
So he basically was talking about writing TV shows and how he still writes TV shows episode by episode, even though it's on a streaming service. And basically said that these shows, they expect you to be like, oh, just stick it out until the 8th episode, 8 out of 10 episodes, that's when it kicks off, and everything until then is just waiting for it to get good, because a reviewer saw it all and said, oh, it gets good at episode 8. That's bullshit. No, it's make an effing TV show. I used to make 22 episodes a season, and I had to keep your attention for all 22 of them, so make a goddamn TV show.
I read the full interview with him about this.
I want to hug him.
Fascinating.
I want to hug him.
And he was talking about how he respects all the people who came from network TV onto streaming services a lot more than the ones who just come from we're making a movie. Because he's like, sure that there are a lot of advantages to doing it on streaming. Basically, he's talking about how they have all the scripts written before they start shooting. They shoot it all before anything's aired. So they, if they get to, we're filming episode 7, we've had some ideas, we can go back in and add stuff to episode 1, which
that's good.
You couldn't really do that on network TV because of the way they're scheduled. Because there are a lot of advantages to doing it on a streaming service. But he's still, at its core, writing it as if it was a network show with some extra.
And you feel it. Obviously, not every streaming show is guilty. I think Stranger Things. I think there's a good job of keeping the pace up and having its distinct things each episode. We've praised the good shows that do it versus the bad shows that don't do it.
There's a lot less of them than the bad ones at this point.
there's so many of them that just spin their wheels, and it's like Netflix pacing. Like, I watched the Resident Evil pilot this week. Netflix pacing. Like, it feels like such a signature thing at this point. And I want to actually get away from saying they're just making a long movie. Not because I understand what the complaint is, but I think it's actually insulting to movies, because that implies that movies don't pace their stories properly and, like, have build up and, like,
it's a bad movie.
Yeah, it's a bad movie. Yeah, specifically. Because, like, even a 3-hour movie, if it's paced properly and structured properly, it's not a problem.
That's true. Yeah.
So,
which I think is, I can't speak for all the Marvel shows, but at least the Star Wars ones on Disney Plus, I think are, in my opinion, a little bit better paced than the Netflix ones. I know, Pete, you might disagree with the Kenobi one. I think it's very specific. They actually released 2 episodes on that first day, because that first episode is really slow and just kind of this tone introduction, and then episode 2 is where it, like, jumps into all the, from there onwards it's like all action. Well, not all action, but, like,
I mean, I would definitely lobby the critique most of the Marvel shows that I've seen, because I do feel that they're all 2-hour movies that are stretched out to 6 episodes, and I feel it in their spinning and the way they drag things out.
That's fair.
Moon Knight especially. Moon Knight would have been a badass 2-hour movie. But
I know. We'll see with some, as more shows come out, like the Star Wars ones, I may change my opinion on this, but right now they don't feel like that to me. They feel like mostly they have pretty distinct episodes, and I think it helps that they know they're going to be airing it weekly, or at least more or less weekly, so they're aware of that when they're shooting them.
There's numerous Netflix shows I could pull from. Season 3 just hit, so I'm reminded of season 2 of Umbrella Academy, and that was such a slog to get through. I thought
tedious.
And it felt like, like everything comes together in the last episode, and the last episode was easily the best one because of that. But, like, the preceding episodes were honestly mostly really dull.
A friend at work was talking to her, she goes, "Oh, you're watching season 3 of Umbrella Academy?" I was like, no. It's like, season 2 was terrible. She was like, "Yeah, I know season 2 was terrible." I was like, "So you watched season 3?" She goes, "Yeah, I'm watching it." I'm like, "Why? Why are you doing this?" She goes, I have to finish it." I'm like, "And?" She goes, "Don't watch it. It's awful. It's just as bad." I'm like, good to know.
Oh dear. Yeah, there's numerous, and obviously there's been good examples, but just that quote from Kripke, it felt like someone is like, "Oh, I'm being heard." Someone's, like, acknowledging, and it's good to hear from a writer, because they actually pushed in season 2 of The Boys to release weekly. Like, Amazon didn't say we want this to be weekly. It was Kripke and the people making the show that said we want this.
From Amazon's perspective, it's objectively better for their bank accounts, essentially, right? Because you've got to keep your subscribers on the hook for 2 months at least, as opposed to 1. Which
I like the weekly, right? I like that we have a sustained conversation. Like, dreading the Stranger Things. I couldn't watch Stranger Things when it first came back in May, but dreading the people that are going to stay up and then just watch it all, so then they can be the first one with an opinion.
It's bad enough with, like, Star Wars shows on Disney Plus, where people will stay up till, like, midnight when it comes out in, I think, is it West Coast time?
West Coast will be, yeah.
I think, yeah. So for me, that's like 8 a.m. So I don't go to bed until like 6, 7 a.m., which is too late to really watch it and enjoy it. But also, like, okay, then I've got to wake up and go to work, and then I've got to avoid my phone, like, because it is a nightmare trying to avoid spoilers for 12 hours. Even though it's like, for me, that would be like, okay, I got to the end of my work day, and then I come home and watch it straight away. And by that point, more often than not, I've seen spoilers already, even though I'm actively avoiding them. And that's with just one episode.
Yeah.
It's awful if it's a whole show.
It's so funny that, like, Netflix started it to sort of stand out when they started making original content in this binge format.
And it did work for them.
And that's the thing, it worked, but it was this thing where then everyone else started doing it for a bit. But over time, like, a lot of them are gradually shifting back to weekly. Apple's weekly. I mean, I never went binge. I just started weekly. But
same with Disney Plus.
Disney Plus started weekly. But Amazon's shifting more and more to weekly. Hulu's mostly weekly. They'll do like 2 or 3 that first week to give it a bit of a kick.
That's pretty common even across all of them. They'll give it like 2 or 3 episodes on that first week to go, just enough to get you hooked and keep you going, right? But yeah, they're realizing that that it does work better. It's better audience retention, better for your conversation,
and arguably
generate your buzz, which is an important thing for streaming services.
And arguably, it might actually force the writing to consider the fact that we need people to come back in a week, because honestly, the comfort of they'll have it all to binge, they'll just keep watching it regardless, is the worst thing to ever happen to TV.
Yeah, knowing that your writers have to go, they got to actively tune back in a week's time, as opposed to just letting it autoplay. It's a big thing.
And it wouldn't be a problem. Like if the writers and creators still, if they all had Kripke's opinion and tried to still write it properly so that each episode was satisfying on its own, it wouldn't really be that much of an issue. But the fact is that they don't, and therefore maybe a little kick in the arse to keep it that way.
Also, it's good that we can vindicate this, and put Kripke up on this pedestal, because he proved it. Season 3 of The Boys was fantastic.
Yeah, 2 as well. But both season 2 and 3 were really
absolutely,
good.
And 1 was really good as well. But it's not like he's just saying this, but then he's got the work to back it up as well. That's the important part.
Yeah. Yep. No, absolutely. I had to bring that quote up though. It was such a.
Yeah, I nearly brought it up earlier, and then we moved on, so I didn't.
It was like tears coming from my eyes. Like, yes, Kripke, preach it. Yeah. I also, there was the quote, just to go about the Marvel movies. Of all people, Roger Corman chimed in his opinion of the Marvel movies. Yeah, it's always big news whenever Scorsese or someone says, not real cinema, blah blah blah, and all the fanboys get all like old geriatric man yells at clouds like, he's kind of right though. Roger Corman, speaking to my heart as well, said, those Marvel movies, they can be quite impressive, but I think what they should do, they should take a page out of James Cameron's book and put story before effects, because the effects in a James Cameron movie...
did you see Avatar?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Story before effects?
Yes, the story. The effects are there to serve the story.
No, they are not.
They are. They absolutely are.
No, they are not. I'm sorry. Even people who like Avatar are like, no, it's a visual feast. It looks amazing. It's all these impressive effects. No one talks about the story of Avatar.
Look, you're honing in on one movie. Even if you discount that one movie, James Cameron's entire career, which is filled with movies that broke boundaries for effects, did so with excellent stories that are remembered to this day. This is not a debate about Avatar. This is a debate about his filmography in general.
I don't care about Titanic until the back half when the ship starts to sink, and then the effects take over. So
look.
True Lies though. True Lies, that movie's dope. I love True Lies.
It's like we're actively avoiding Terminator 2, and Aliens in the Abyss here. Like what's going on?
What are you on about? Those movies didn't.
But I felt the same way with Connor with the Avatar thing. I was like, well, wait, but that's because I keep getting that stupid trailer, and I still don't think it's coming out.
That trailer, and I am convinced Avatar 2 has no story either, and it's just more effects. But this time it's underwater effects.
I cannot wait for Avatar 2, and Avatar 1, for the record, is better than most Marvel movies. I'm just gonna say it right now.
It's a very low bar.
It is a low bar, admittedly.
Here's
but
the thing.
It still is true.
A basic archetypical story, of course, is going to be better than some of the Marvel stuff. But it's like, it's a story that gets told all the time. It's just plug and play, because he was so worried about that. Yes, he made up his own language and culture, heavily borrowing from other established ones. But the story is plug and play. Like, it's a story that's been told.
It is, but there's been some good interviews with them talking about how the first movie is intentionally get a very typical story, because the whole point is to get everyone used to the world before he goes balls deep with the.
Oh yeah, before he comes back a decade later and everyone's forgotten anything that was in that film.
He had to go and invent some new filming techniques, didn't he? Because he's a madman. But hey, he's filmed the next two. The next two are definitely coming. So.
No, well, we'll see about
that. Someone I follow on Twitter. So Cameron announced that he's probably not going to do 4 and 5. That he's going to bring other people in. And someone I follow said, it'd be funny is if they shot 4 and 5 at the same time, but the directors didn't talk, and so you just see what they both come up with. Set in the world of Avatar.
Fair enough. But Cameron's already written 4 and 5.
Yeah, I know, but it would just be funny.
Yeah,
and
I think technically he's already directed a little bit of 4 at least. I think I read that somewhere that they've done parts of 4. Which I think is it's probably got something to do with what actors were involved.
I'm just a little bit salty that Cameron's doing what he wants and Spielberg's not doing good things. That's all. Like,
yeah,
West Side Story was great.
Oh, it was so good.
Like,
you can't deny, regardless of how you feel about it, and I'd certainly have no interest in West Side Story. You can't deny that's what Spielberg wanted to do.
Exactly, and like Ready Player One, and The Post, and all this other stuff. It's just not been, So I would take him taking time off and eagerly anticipating what's Billy doing next, versus some of the stuff that we've got. But yeah,
Avatar 2 will be in my top 5 of the year. I'm pretty positive on it. I'm positive.
Have you seen anything else this year?
Yeah, I've seen good movies this year.
Yeah.
I've seen good movies.
If you've seen 6 movies this year, that might be the only way it sneaks into a top 5.
I've seen like 30 movies already from this year. Thank you very much. We got interesting things still to come. We got Nope coming up. That looks interesting. Nope. We got a new failed day station movie. No, I'm expecting that to be top 10 material necessarily.
I want to watch it though.
It's gonna be better than Avatar 2.
I don't know about that. We get a variety of things coming up. My mind's going blank, but there's tons of stuff coming out.
Nope is the one I'm looking forward to the most next. Bullet Train, I'm excited for.
You should watch Crimes of the Future, directed by David Cronenberg. It's your sort of movie.
I'm okay. I heard about it. I don't want to watch it. I'm good. Thank you, though.
I will be interested to see because I think there is at this point a slightly real possibility that Avatar 2 makes less money than Top Gun Maverick. Because I don't know if the interest is there for Avatar. I really don't know.
That is a possibility, but at least in saying that, Top Gun Maverick has made a very good amount of money, so it's not.
It has, but if a year ago, if I'd told you Top Gun Maverick will make more than Avatar 2.
Oh yeah, it's the surprise. It is the surprise of the year. Like it's not like everything else is acting all wonky. It's just that one is done surprisingly well.
It has, but also, I don't know if it's good. I think it'll hit $1 billion, but I don't think it's hitting much more than that.
Don't doubt James Cameron. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't, because James Cameron raises the bar because he's James Cameron. So.
No,
I don't. Tomatoes, I don't want to enable ads. I just want to see what movies are coming out this year. God, that makes me mad.
Oh dear! I tell you this, I'm not just to say somewhat loosely on topic for the show here. I don't think there's a single comic book movie for the rest of this year I give a shit about.
Oh no, there is one.
What?
There is one. Me and Connor are both in on this together.
What?
DC Super Pets.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. I mean, that's a quirky thing. I thought we were going to see Black Adam. I was like, really?
No, don't get me wrong. I will watch Black Adam at some point.
Yeah,
at some point.
Every time I get it, I see Pierce Brosnan as Fate, and I go, "Oh, Connor's gonna be happy at least with that."
That is like the peak of that movie.
Yeah, but every time I see that trailer, I get a little bit more bummed out. That I'm like, why? This looks like a movie from 10 years ago.
I don't necessarily think it's going to be a good movie. I want to make that clear.
Honestly, Matt, I think 20 is maybe a more apt descriptor.
Well, I was trying to be nice.
If it's 20, they're going for the nostalgia factor somehow in style, even if not in characters.
Remember bad superhero movies from the early 2000s? Here's another one for you.
Yeah, but you say that, but people apparently love those Spider-Man movies again. People love those early X-Men movies again, apparently. There's nostalgia for them now. So, hey, remember those might actually work on a significant portion of the audience.
Yeah, but the problem is, though, you can't really do that with Black Adam. It's like you're kind of doing, remember Iron Man? Because those are the vibes I'm getting from it.
Hey, do you remember this year how a meme convinced Sony to re-release Morbius and then it released to almost no money the second time?
And then alternatively, the Minions movie absolutely raked it in because of a meme.
Oh yeah, the suits thing. Yeah, dressing up in a suit.
So I didn't realize they were throwing bananas at the screen. And I went, well, if teen boys want to get dressed up and go see Minions and be gentle Minions, you should let them. Then I found out they were throwing shit, and that's not okay.
Some of them were, yeah, and I think it kind of ruined it for the rest of them. But I love the fact that they actually they bought tickets, and that movie raked it in because of.
Yeah,
I love the idea that some families went to a showing of the new Minions movie, Rise of Gru, whatever it's called, and there was like half the audience were teenage boys in white suits with bananas, armed with bananas.
I love the stories where it's like there's 20 of them standing up and giving a standing ovation at the opening titles. I'm like, I love all of these stories, and I can just see Sony going, "How the hell do we monetize this for Morbius? Damn it!"
You make look. I've only seen one Despicable Me. It's not for me.
I've unfortunately seen 3 of them.
I also the first one as well.
But like my nieces love them, and they're they grew up with them, so that's fine. So I understand that. But like with Morbius, who's that for?
But Matt, it's Morbin time.
I don't care.
Time, yeah. Joe, it's just funny to me, the idea that some kids go to see the new Minions movie and it effectively turns into a screen of the room just with bananas instead of spoons. I just think it's hilarious to me. They don't get it. Yeah. Honestly, one of my most weirdly anticipated movies of the year, not because I think it's going to be good, I'm expected to be terrible, but after the train wreck that Halloween Kills was, Halloween Ends has my attention.
I am so ready. Tim turned me on to the Halloweenies podcast, and they go really hard for, what was the doctor's name in the first one? I don't remember his name, but I thought about it. And so they're calling this, the doctor's, final form or whatever with Halloween Ends, and I'm here for that one. I'm curious to see where that goes, because it evil dies tonight, Pete.
It'd be terrible.
And then a woman showed up with an iron to fight Michael Myers.
Halloween Kills is absolutely horrible. I mean, it's still better than the Rob Zombie movies because just
Look,
layers.
I'm not happy that I've watched it 3 times. Okay.
I watched it once last Halloween, and it was the funniest thing I saw all month. Yeah. Actually, I don't know if that's true. Is it the funniest Halloween movie?
You know what though? It's super bad.
Funniest,
but it
maybe.
is rewatchable.
Yeah.
It's stupidly rewatchable.
Joe, the funny thing is that the first. When I say the first, I mean the 2018 Halloween, right? The first reboot Halloween. When that came out, right, so he makes a big deal in that movie. What the teenager says to the 2 friends, he's like, I mean, one guy killed like 5 people with a knife in the 70s. He's like, that's nothing now with all the shootings that go on today. Like, they made this sort of point like being reflective about how society's changed since the 70s. And then you flash forward to the sequel, and every character's like, 40 years ago, Michael Myers ruined this town. No one remembered this asshole in the last movie. Why does everyone know who he is all of a sudden?
Yeah.
They just riled up all the boomers. That's it.
Yeah.
Apparently.
That's what I like in that story. Is it's the riling up of the boomers, and look what happens. And bad things happen when you rile up the boomers.
Everyone gets massacred.
But when I think it was Tim that pointed out the lady had an iron. That's why I went back and watched it the 3rd time.
I definitely tweeted that out when
you didn't just like look at that scene. You watched the whole movie again just for that.
Yeah. Because again, as bad as it is watchable, and I can't explain why.
There's a lot of weird things. Like, I love Jim Cummings, and he's there as one of the cops in the 70s, and it's such a weird, like, he's so out of place because he's this comedy guy.
And I think the scene at the park with Lindsay is really, really well. It's like probably the best shot sequence in the whole movie. But like the hospital stuff, it's like The Room bad. Like, it starts getting there, and you're just kind of like...
the character stupidity. Like, one of them ends up shooting themselves in the head because they're...
Yeah.
But, Michael Myers John Wicks a door into someone's hand to make them shoot themselves. That's like, what?
This man is in his 70s at this point. But he is the shape, so...
I always think too hard about it, yeah?
I love what John Carpenter when asked, what brought you back? To
big
this.
sex and money.
Well, that's what he said, because they added a bunch of zeros. He's so apologetic. I watched In the Mouth of Madness this week, finally. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, God damn, this man. He's onto something. Because the point is, I'm supposed to be confused, right? Like, I sat there thinking about the end of that movie on Wednesday as I'm trying to watch wrestling. And all I could think of is Sam Neill. So, But
I wasn't in love with The Mouth of Madness, but like Carpenter from 70s and 80s is pretty much full of gold. Like, there's a couple of weaker ones, but it's mostly gold.
I didn't enjoy Prince of Darkness. I enjoyed Mouth of Madness.
I love Prince of Darkness. I think Prince of Darkness is way better.
And I think that's the difference between you and me, right?
Taste good and bad. Yes, I agree.
No. But yeah, just on what we prefer in our in our horror. But yeah, just Sam Neill going batshit crazy. I'm here for it. That's the movie he followed Jurassic Park with. Was In the Mouth of Madness. So
He did Event Horizon like a couple of years after that as well.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that movie sucks. So people who remember Event Horizon as being good, no.
Okay. I guess I won't ever rewatch it then. Because it's been a long time since I watched it.
It scared me at 12, and now I'm just like, I'm okay. I just remember the wormhole. That's how they explain wormholes now. Was from that movie with pushing the pin through the paper.
Was that the first thing that did it?
Was that the first?
I feel like that. That's the first time I remember seeing it explained that way.
That seems annoying because I just did it in the Ace a couple of months ago, so it's quite fresh in my mind. And that seems really annoying because Sam Neill's this, scientist, and he's explaining, hey, we built this thing to, travel these vast distances in space. And like the crew in the ship go, but that's not possible. And that would be fine because it's not possible. But then they start explaining to Sam Neill, the scientist, the astrophysicist, why it's not possible, because they have to explain to the audience why it's not possible, so that Sam Neill can then impress everyone by saying why it is possible and what they've done to break the rules. But he doesn't need to be explained. He understands why that typically this is seen as impossible. He developed this warp drive thing. He understands why they couldn't just do it with engines. So
never rewatch it, is what you're saying.
It's like a bad Hellraiser / Blair Witch sequel with Paul Anderson characters. That's what the movie is.
Wow, that is more damning than I would have guessed.
Yeah,
I think it's trash. I think it's a trash movie. I'm
not saying I have really fond memories of it, but I don't remember it being terrible.
If I'm taking a Paul W.S. Anderson movie, the only one that I will honestly gladly rewatch is Mortal Kombat. It's the only one that I get some sort of pleasure out of. And it's not good. It's not a good movie. Let me be that clear.
But it's again, it's stupidly watchable. Kano in that movie is just wild. And it always creeped me out when she snaps his neck and his eye glitches out. It shuts off. Always gave me the willies as a kid. But no. Whatever happened to her? She had Last Action Hero in Mortal Kombat, and then she just disappeared.
They were trying to make her the next big thing, right? They were trying to make her the next big action sort of chick.
Yeah.
And then just
Bridget Wilson.
Yeah. I don't know. Did she do anything else after?
What other Paul W.S. Anderson? I know he did the Mortal Kombat or the
Alien vs Predator, 4 out of 6 Resident Evil movies.
I've heard him described as the dark Paul Anderson because he's the different than PTA than Paul Thomas Anderson. There we go.
Yeah, you gotta be careful when you talk about your Paul Andersons because there's a very big difference between the two of them. Yeah.
Oh, he did he's doing Mimic. They're remaking Mimic?
Maybe it's just the same name. It may not be actually a remake of that.
Yeah.
Bridget Wilson's not been in anything since 2008.
Yeah?
So she retired, seemingly. Unless she died or something. Maybe I'm...
No, I remember she married, what's his name? Pete Sampras.
Yeah, she's alive.
Yeah.
She's alive.
Combat, Event Horizon. Oh, Soldier? I like Soldier, but I like Kurt Russell.
Is this Paul W.S. Anderson movies you like?
The Mimic that he's doing is a TV show.
Okay. So maybe they're... Oh my god, that Three Musketeers movies. I forgot I watched that. That was not
that's
good.
awful.
Yeah, that's bad.
Oh, I remember the trailer for that. I stayed way clear of that bad boy.
Smart.
I'm still yet to see his Monster Hunter movie because even though I know it's going to be awful, I kind of need to see it.
Oh, it's terrible.
Can I interest you in a Paul W.S. Anderson adaptation of a George R.R. Martin story, starring Mila Jovovich and Dave Bautista?
Jovovich.
Yeah, okay. Her. Lilo. Sure. It's called In the Lost Lands. The sorcerer travels to a lost land in search of a magical power that allows a person to transform into a werewolf.
If you take Paul W.S. Anderson off that, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm in.
Yep.
If you remove the main creative force behind it, yes, I'll be.
Yeah, but if you just give me the premise of that movie, I'm like, hell yeah. And then you tell me who it's by, I'm like,
Well, Jovovich is only in her husband's movies now, so if she's there, that means he's probably there.
That is true. I'm not that big on her either.
It's like Sherry Moon Zombie.
Like she's
Bro,
fine,
what is that,
but-
Monsters?
It looks so
What
cheap
is that?
and
Who's
nasty.
that for?
It's for Rob Zombie and like the 12 people who
Like
that it looks like a sketch show.
I saw the teaser and I was like, oh, this is like a fun commercial. Like if this was like for you know, like you're doing a Munsters, like, hey, remember that? And then they're in the real world and they come out of black and white and their color matches how it would be shot. But then they just made a movie of it, and again, who's it for? I don't get it. Oh man. I want to like the Munsters too.
Well, if you attach
I
Rob
have,
Zombie to something, I'm
Not yet seen the trailer, thankfully.
I only clicked it out because I'd heard people say it was like one of the worst trailers I'd ever seen, so I had to check it out. But
What was it one of the worst trailers? Because I only saw the teaser.
it just looks really. Do you know what it looks like? It looks like it has the production value of like a sketch on a sketch show. That's what it looks like. And I'm assuming it's intentional and they want to go for that vibe, but it just feels really
cheap.
weird and cheap. So yeah, can't say I'm thrilled. Luckily, it's not technically a horror movie, so I don't have to do it for Screams After Midnight, and therefore.
Hey, but Patreon guys, you should gang up on him and make him watch it because it's Rob Zombie.
I think there's a stream goal in there.
I'm gonna work on Tim because you know how Tim dignifies everything as a horror movie.
Tim will take that shot.
Yep.
Tim's got the 4 Twilight movie in his future soon, so you know.
Oh, poor guy.
I'd rather watch those again. At least I can enjoy the baseball team, the first one, and go like, hey, worth it.
I'll watch Eclipse because Bryce Dallas Howard's in it, but that's it. Because last night we're looking for stuff to watch, and my wife goes, "Let's watch Twilight." I said, "Let's not." So hey, Pete.
I don't like those movies are at least bad enough that I can laugh at what the hell they're doing.
There was a funny scene in Eclipse when they're on a tent and Jacob has to snuggle with Bella to keep her warm because Edward has no body heat because he's a vampire. Yeah. I thought that was a funny scene.
So have you not seen the last ones yet, Pete?
No. Breaking Dawn Part 1's up next.
Oh, you've got so much to look forward to.
Oh, I bet.
He breaks the bed. I know that.
Wait till you see the kid.
Yeah, we watched Cha Cha Real Smooth with Dakota Johnson, and I made the mistake of saying I'll watch anything she's in, forgetting she was in the 50 Shades movies.
I knew exactly where you were going with that.
And then my wife goes, "We should watch them." I go, "No." Pete said no. Pete said I'm not allowed. He said don't do it ever.
Wait a minute. If I'm allowed to ban you from watching certain movies, I should be allowed to force you to watch other ones.
No, we already did that show once, and it almost broke me. So,
yeah, but that was weird artsy movies that I liked. This would just be me torturing you with making you watch like absolute trash.
There is money in that, but it would have to be watch-alongs and just getting my live reactions to things, you know. But yeah, I forgot she was in that because she's also in some period piece based off of Jane Austen that's on Netflix. And I was like, I like her enough that I might watch this. And then she brought up 50 Shades. I take it back.
I don't even know which one that is.
Let me see what it's called. But yeah.
I hope everyone's joined the DC Comics podcast where people are looking up Jane Austen inspirations.
Yep.
How far into this show now, and we've talked about comics for how long?
We're almost at an hour. That's okay. There's timestamps for a reason.
Yeah, it's called Persuasion, based off of the novel by Jane Austen. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I am not opposed to checking that out.
So I said, you put one of my favorite actresses in a period piece, and I'll watch it. And then I remembered I still haven't seen The Favorite.
That movie is so good.
Yes, I know,
like,
but I don't
that
like...
movie is legitimately great. Even Pete would enjoy that movie.
I don't like Yorgos that much.
Pete would.
Yes.
Because it is that surreal angle. That
I enjoyed The Lobster. That's
yeah, exactly. If you enjoyed
I did not.
What's not to enjoy, Matt? He's going to tell you a lobster if he doesn't find love. It's simple.
Yeah,
it makes sense. It's logical.
Okay. if you say so.
Yeah, I do say so.
So.
In that case, you would enjoy The Favorite, despite it being a period piece.
I suspect I might.
This doesn't bode well for how I felt about the books this week, because I'd much rather keep this conversation going.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I didn't have a great week with the books either. I'm going to
say now I had one good book, and then some okay things.
Yeah, I had. Yeah. There was a couple that I normally enjoy that I wasn't as into, and a couple of weird things.
One that I really, really enjoyed.
I hope that we're all on about the same book here. That there's the one book that we're like, yeah, that was a good book.
Probably.
Yeah, I suspect we are, because I can't imagine it being anything else personally. Like the chasm is that big. I'm like, it can't possibly be any of the others. But maybe Matt could throw a curveball. Let's be honest.
I'm not. I'm just gonna. Yeah, it's not. It's what you think it is.
Okay.
We should do some sort of like comic book roulette thing where
it's like Russian roulette. Write down what the book is that we think everyone else is.
No. I'm thinking it's something mistakes later on where it's like we pick like a Bad Liddell issue to do, right? And whoever loses has to do that issue. Then we spin the metaphorical gun.
Because I don't trust you to not load it with my name.
Oh, how dare you? I love the idea. He's like, let's check the rest of the bullets, and it's like Matt.
It's just me and you, man. Pete's not in it at all.
No. He's like, yeah, I'm the one that loads it. It's dangerous enough.
All right, I suppose we should actually talk about comics.
Yeah. What's first?
You guys take it away.
Dark Crisis Worlds Without a Justice League Superman issue 1. Tom King writing with Chris Burnham on the art. There's a backup as well. We'll talk about that separately at the end. From what Conrad just said, it sounds like he didn't read this.
I did not, because I think Dark Crisis is absolutely terrible. I refuse to read tie-ins. And it took me 4 attempts to get through issue 2 of Dark Crisis over the last 3 days.
What?
It's awful.
We have different definitions of awful.
Williamson cannot do this style of story. I'm sorry. He's failed all the attempts he's tried so far for me.
This is a return. Of course, Karaka's back and hits us with this. This makes sense.
I'm shocked that you guys are enjoying it.
Yeah.
I quite like issue 1.
That's fine.
I like where it's going.
It's not the best, but I don't think it's bad.
It's
terrible.
It's still Doomsday Clock. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not.
It's got nice enough art because Sam Pierce.
Not
very good.
It's not Doomsday Clock because Connor's read it. So.
I also was not here for any of the issues of Dark Crisis yet.
Yes,
so
I know.
Maybe it is Doomsday Clock.
Yeah. See. I liked when Tom King does these small stories like this because he's really good at taking something and doing like these smaller moments, because this is a series. The story with Superman it's 5 years, but each year is over a course of a couple pages in John's life.
Can I just before we get into talk about what this is, can I say that this issue and seemingly all these one shots are not what I thought they were, because it's called Worlds Without a Justice League Superman, and maybe if I'd paid attention to solicits a bit more, I'd expected this. But I'm like, Superman's in this. Why is Superman here? I thought the whole point of this was that this is like the world without Superman, and it's not that at all. If anything, it seems like this is like, in the same way that Barry seems trapped in like this idyllic reality, it feels like all these one shots are all these various Justice League members trapped in some kind of dream or their whatever world they've been put into.
It's very Black Mercy style story, where it's giving them what they want to keep them from trying to fight it. Which once you figure that out and you know what these are, that's fine. I mean, I'm going to read them all.
For every character?
Well, I feel like we're going to get backups, because this one was Superman and Aquaman. I feel like we'll get them pairing off like that. But, we speculated that with Barry, at least, and then we kind of brought up in Dark Crisis 2, maybe that's what's happening to the rest of them.
Yeah, they're all somewhere else like that, yeah.
Right. And this said, showed us that was true.
And it's the very last page where Superman, as John's riding off to fight this war with Darkseid, he says, I was here this time. I saw you grow up this time, because this is the period that he missed. And he was like, because it's exactly that period. It's like, it's 12 through 18 that he missed.
Which I really like that aspect of it. I just wish it wasn't so formulaic. But for a one shot like this, a standalone, it's fine.
It's a weird thing because, like, on the one hand, I think it's a well constructed comic. I think what it's saying about John, despite his father's wishes, has to go up and help the war between the New Gods, right? He has to go off and help. I like what that's saying about him. The idea that his first Superboy costume is kind of like more of a Robin costume with a little super, man shield.
I thought that was a stylistic choice, and that's fine. But it's kind of weird.
It's different for different sake. Like, I almost felt like it was like, oh, there's a reason why he's taken Robin's like look, in this continuity or whatever. But it never really did that. No. I wonder if the interpretation is that because Bruce has been there for Damian's years at this point in his life. Obviously, he's not done with that period of his life yet. But if the idea is that he's kind of like, not jealous, but like this is like, his close friend Batman's got a son, and he's living through that period of his son's life right now. So this is why he's dressed as a Robin.
I almost
maybe
rather
he just
wish
thinks he looks cooler, and he's just jealous.
Maybe.
I mean, it would have been nicer to have his old Superboy costume that had been established.
That would have made sense.
Because then it would have felt like that's what Clark knew when he was Superboy. So it's just a little bit weird, but it still works. I mean, they're definitely going for the Batman and Robin vibes. Because it's established that Superboy's a sidekick, and we had some good Lois stuff with her, being mom to Superboy, and all that stuff.
Yeah, the weird thing is she never had to do much work as a reporter while she had John, because she was obviously away from the Daily Planet and just came back, and it's right after that he went missing for. Well, for them it was a couple of weeks, but
for him it was years. Yeah. I also like the fact that he's fighting Orion, but it's been a corrupted Orion, and the whole idea of the father and the son. He wants to be his dad. John does, whereas Orion's dad is Darkseid, his biological father, and he's become him for better or for worse. And John is fighting Orion in that. So I like that whole aspect from King. Because I feel like King does have a good grip on the New Gods.
So the basic gist of this issue, beyond what we've already said, which is it's John's growing up through that time period that he otherwise missed because he was away, and he's waking up thinking that he's hearing nightmares, having nightmares of this war on Apocalypse and New Genesis. But then Clark reveals that sometimes he hears it as well, and what it actually is just the sounds of this war, like getting to their super hearing. And the idea is that John can't just let it go. Superman's accepted that he can't solve this conflict, so he just stays and protects Earth and does other things. But John can't let it go, so even though he's told repeatedly not to go and interfere with it, he keeps doing it anyway. And the end of the issue,
he almost dies, right? Like he gets pretty bad, in which Clark starts to feel guilty for, because John has no choice but to be who he is, because that's what Clark did too. And so just the perspective, like his parents couldn't stop him, he's not going to be able to stop John. And I did like that.
Yeah, and that's basically it. It's perfectly fine. I think honestly it's this weird thing where I got to the end of it, okay, so that's what these are going to be, and then the backup is basically that for Aquaman. So it's like, okay, this is what it's going to be. And I have to admit, the thought of reading 5 more of these did not feel particularly enticing, because I'm like, okay, some of them might be good, some of them might not be good, but it does feel like it's going to be a bit repetitive, where it's just all them living out some idyllic life.
You feel the formula already.
Yeah, at least with Barry, we get that whole Silver Age art shift, and it feels like a different realm. But here, this just feels like a dreamscape because of the Burnham art.
And the thing with the Barrys is that in the Flash book that's tying in, we've got the rest of the Flash family looking through these alternate timelines, looking for them. So we have characters who we can follow and relate to, who understand what this is. So we're not just watching the story where someone's in the trance or in the dream and doesn't realize that they're who they are or what version of themselves they are. So in the Flash book we can follow Wally and he's the protagonist. We can follow the other Flash characters and they're the protagonists of their own individual adventures, the kids, whatever it may be. Here it does feel like every time it's just going to be, okay, what is the status quo the heroes are in these fantasies, and is there anything by the end that kind of shakes it up? And seemingly no. I mean, in both of these cases, it's just it gets towards the end and there's a bit of narration where they say, oh, this is like, better than, I got to be here this time, or I got to whatever.
Yeah, it's them being lulled into a sense of security because you're giving them what they want, right? And this one, it's Superman gets to see John grow up in the years that he missed, and for Arthur, in the backup, he gets to see his family united.
He gets to see his daughter Andy being married to that speedster who was in that future story from before. That was a nice callback. I do appreciate that was a callback to that relationship they teased in that future Justice League story, which is cool. But that's basically what it is. Even Black Manta's involved, and there's like someone who tries to assassinate Andy on her wedding day. But that's basically it. Just what's the creative team on this story at the back here? It
was Brandon Thomas and
Fico Ossio was the artist.
Ossio, which the art I really enjoy. Ossio as an artist.
Thomas is the ongoing regular Aquaman writing right now.
That's where it feels nice that this is it feels like a piece of his overall story that if we were reading, it would slot in quite nicely, like you said, like the speedster with Andy and that whole relationship, and then we get the Jackson, being the bigger brother to Andy and being there for her. Yeah,
bulky Jackson with a beard. I like it.
yeah, which is kind of cool because it's playing off of that Aquaman hook, the old Peter David version, which is cool. But just kind of as a story, it was just kind of there. Black Manta showing up like that was Jackson. So that was a sparring session.
Yeah. So basically, just to the ending of the Aquaman book, where it kind of then teases what's really going on, is Aquaman wakes up and he's like, I don't have all this shit. I don't have my hands around your throat. I've been dead before and came back, which wasn't even that long ago, honestly. Soon we'll see if you can say the same. So it's just, it feels like it's going to just be like a little sting at the end every time of the character realizing or acknowledging in some way this isn't real and I'm going to come back.
Mm-hmm.
I can already, after one issue, and it's part of it's even if I think if it was just the main story, I'd probably still feel like they're all going to play out the same way. But the backup being there and showing that even the backup played out that way was like, I can already see the repetition in this, and I don't know if anything monumental is going to happen. It might depend on creative teams or how quiet the weeks are, but I'm not thrilled by this.
Tom King's a small name to throw on these already.
No.
But again, with the Tom King, he's kind of good at these type where. That's why I just thought this is like one of those, not an imaginary story, but like it was, the whole thing was World Without Justice League. So what's Superman like when there's no Justice League? That's how I read it.
I think the title of this series of one-shots is very misleading. It's also very clunky, but it shouldn't be called Worlds Without a Justice League. It should be like Justice League Lost or something like that. And like, because we're following where they are, not the world without them.
Right. And that's where I thought it was almost going to be like those not Dark Graces, the Dark Multiverse.
The metal?
Where they redid the events. Yeah, the metal ones.
Oh, yeah, Tales from the Dark Multiverse, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought these were going to be like. So this is like, if there's no Batman, right? Superman and Superboy become the kind of Batman and Robin, because that's what the covers will pull off of, and that's what the costume was like.
And I think, while that is all just a series of like, a writer gets to be wacky and do an alternate take, I think at least there, they'd all be very different because it'd all be reimagining each individual thing different. So it's like, a Gotham without Batman's very different from a Metropolis without Superman, and so on and so on.
Right.
Whereas here, it kind of feels like, obviously there'll be specific things that they can maybe call to in each character, but I mean, even this one, like the backup and the main story are both about the superhero and their kid. So there's even like some, I mean, maybe that's a good thing that there's a thematic connection between the two that are in this book, but at the same time, I'm wondering, it just highlighted the repetition of it.
I'm just looking at the teams on the next one.
Yeah.
So the next one that I can see at a glance is the Green Lantern one in August.
That's John Stewart, yeah.
Yeah. And it has a backup with Hawkgirl. I don't know how exactly these writers split up. It's got 3 writers on it here.
So who are they?
Philip Kennedy Johnson.
Okay.
Nadia Shamas, who's been doing the stuff on Detective Comics.
With Tamaki.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And Jeremy Adams, who's been doing the Flash stuff, right?
Yeah.
And
so I wonder if it's going to be Shamas and Adams.
Well, it looks like for probably the main story.
Yeah.
I would say if Kennedy Johnson is written first, he's probably the main story.
Yeah.
Writing-wise, and then...
Well, and I'm there for Philip Kennedy Johnson Green Lantern story. I just like... What's John saying that's going to lull him into a sense, and can they tie that?
I wonder if the planet he destroyed is going to play into...
Zanshi. Yeah.
It's going to be happy. It's going to be
Do you want me to tell you what it
thriving.
actually says?
Okay,
go ahead.
Let me just open it back up real quick, because I closed it, thinking we were done. and Leo Comic Geeks slow.
Yeah.
Prior and his force, the dark artist laid waste the most powerful. All hope was lost. Spirit justly can never truly die. All right. John Stewart takes flight to defend his planet as the Emerald Knight of Justice, alongside allies Red Hood and the blind prophet Carl Rayner. Plus, Hawk Girl takes to the skies in her own unique world. Where there's life, there's hope.
The blind prophet Carl Rayner. All right.
Look, I'm here for Green Lantern fantasy by Philip Kennedy Johnson. Right?
It sounds a bit different, at least. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it's going to be the same thing, but we'll see.
What's the Red Hood going to be? Is Red Hood going to be like Robin Hood? Is it going to be Roy? Right? Is there going to be some kind of, tie to Green Arrow because it's Green Lantern?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not out on them, right? I'll probably still try the next one. It's only one a month at least, which is nice.
Yeah. And what's the hot girl one?
It just said she's in her own world where there's life, there's hope. And with that hope comes a deeper unraveling of the tapestry of the DCU's biggest event of 2022.
I wonder if she's going back to Thanagar, then we'll see.
The use of the word tapestry has me concerned.
Right. The word tapestry has me concerned.
Which would leave the third one then having to be Batman, Wonder Woman.
What do you mean the third of 6 of these?
There's 6 of them?
Yeah.
Oh,
are you sure?
God,
Batman and Wonder Woman are definitely going to be main stories, and then there'll be
the
other.
The third one is Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Weapons of War. Damn it! Why is there all this nonsense at the start?
Where's the backup?
Wonder Woman begins a new chapter in her life. Prior has uprooted her to a reality he controls. How would the Amazon Princess adapt? That's written by Teenie Howard.
Mm-hmm.
And then also Dan Waters and Brandon Pearson combine forces for a noir tale featuring Martian Manhunter.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
See?
At least they're getting some decent creatives to tell these little stories. They're not just throwing it to...
I love Matt's reaction to the 6.
Yeah, I didn't realize there was 6 either.
Yeah, the 6, because it runs alongside the Young Justice 6-issue mini as well. Like, those are the 2 tie-ins every month, basically.
I'm not to sound like Connor here, but I'm less excited now. I'm still here for Dark Crisis. Maybe not these.
Batman or Wonder Woman are going to be just a backup, you fool.
Why not? I mean, I could see leading with Batman and having Wonder Woman be the backup.
I know,
especially after everything she's been through the last couple.
We'll get to Batman. We'll get to Batman. Don't you worry.
The one in October is Green Arrow. With
I forgot.
Oh,
Canary.
I don't know. It seemed maybe they're both on the cover, so I assume they were in a combined story.
Yeah. It depends if they want to do a combined story, if they want to separate, give Black Canary their own one, then maybe it's a backup.
Still got 2 writers. You've got Dennis Culver and Stephanie Phillips, so it does seem like there's still 2 stories in it.
Mm-hmm.
It probably is, yeah.
But it doesn't mention any other characters in the text.
Right.
So
yeah. But again, we don't have solicits for that one yet, so we'll see.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a solicit for this one that I assume has been like an early solicit that's been put out on somewhere.
Yeah. If you go back and look at the checklist, there were 6 of them all going up to December or January, whatever it is.
I do think that the art in this was the strongest point because both Burnham has this one felt like Frank Quitely-esque.
Yeah, Burnham's art was good. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
He had there was a sort of aged look to Superman that felt quite nice.
Right.
Yeah. He had those grey streaks on his hair. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was really grainy in like the Orion stuff and the fight scenes there, so it gave it like this grit. Which then, counters the Oseo stuff, which is a lot more clean. The colors are super vibrant. And it did feel like Future State in a good sense. It felt like a piece of that. So, but yeah.
All right, what are you giving the book, Matt?
7.
Yeah, I think 7's fair. Like I know I sound more negative than that, but I actually think the issue is fine and it has some good qualities to it, and the art's good. It's more just the impending. Oh, there's 5 more of these, and I'm worried that they're all going to feel quite similar, and that's the negativity that's mostly coming out of me right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how the next one goes, and go from there. All right. Superman, Son of Kal-El, issue 13. Tom Taylor and Nicole Maines writing with Clayton Henry on the art. So a couple of things to note here about the names here. Before I get to the writer, which obviously is notable, I was really not liking the art in this book. And when I got to the credits page, however many pages in, I went, it's Clayton Henry. I knew I recognized these heads.
See, I was shocked because I think this is some of Clayton Henry's worst work.
So when when Henry draws certain characters, the foreheads are massive.
Yeah.
But like Dreamer looks like Dreamer. So no big forehead.
Here's the thing. I'm used to Clayton's big foreheads at this point. Yeah. I can live with it. It's a problem I don't usually have with his art, which I really did in this, is the separation of the layers.
Yeah.
If you go to like the title page, the credit one, the big full page, Dreamer's sat there. It feels like she's not in the room at all. Like it feels like she is superimposed on top of that image, and there's a lot of that in this book. It feels like there's some like just on a crib, like the physical meshing of the layers did not work.
Yeah, I don't like the head's line work. I also really don't like the shading / coloring. They've got this kind of airbrushed look to the way they shade and the facial features, and I think it looks really unnatural and weird. I think the worst panel of the entire book, and it's really sad that it's the worst panel because it's a really good moment from a story perspective, is when Dreamer tells John that Clark will come back. She's seen it. He's going to come back, and he has this like single tear kind of panel moment, and I think he looks awful. It's a shame because I think the moment of him like shedding a tear because he finds out that his dad's definitely coming back someday because he's worried that he won't. I think that's a potentially great little touchy moment, and I think that panel with him shedding the tear, his face just looks awful. So I did not like the art in this book at all. Which is a shame.
For me, like I said, this is, and Pete, you said, you saw Clay and Henry's name, and you went, it all makes sense. For me, that was a surprise because I think he's usually a lot better than this.
I mean, this might be worse than normal, but I feel like I've never really been into Clayton Henry's work.
I think Clayton Henry's a perfectly servable artist when necessary, but there are the hallmarks
I've always had there's the problem with foreheads. And
that's but like usually the layouts are fine. Yeah, the layouts are fine, but like you said, maybe it's an inking, maybe it's a coloring issue. I don't know.
So the main gist of this issue is that because Jay's been, outed as
a super
by himself.
Yeah, accidentally. Yeah, last issue. There's a lot of attention, so John's like, okay, where can I take you that's safe? Oh, I'll take you to this fortress. Why not? That's a good idea. And they're surprised to find Dreamer there because no one's been able to get in. And obviously Nicole Maines, who plays Dreamer on Supergirl, or did play Dreamer, I should say, because the show's over now, co-wrote this issue, and we find out that she kind of got into the fortress by going through a dream and come out of it.
Of an animal.
Of an animal that's in the fortress.
Which led to one of my favorite moments where Jay's like, really? That doesn't think it works. You just dream through one of the animals. And Dreamer looks at him and goes, yeah, didn't you just pop out of a tentacled senator? And I just thought that was really...
I think he sums it up best. Touche.
I wonder how much Nicole Maines is contributing to this issue, because I know she's been very involved with the character in the comic, like pretty much all the appearances so far she's written.
Yeah, she did the story in the Pride special.
Yep.
So, but
I know she's been very involved, and that's great. But I do wonder, like, is she bringing dialogue for the character here in this issue? Is that what's going? I'd just be fascinated by the process. Would your character say this or that or whatever?
Yeah, I doubt she has much input in where the story's going because it's part of her run. So I doubt like she's having too much say in where the story's ultimately setting. But I wonder if she's even worked with DC on like establishing exactly what the power set is and sort of like if they're giving her some sort of not control over it, but like some saying like what Dreamer is as a character, then
it feels like I wouldn't be surprised in a year's time for them to be announcing like a 6-issue mini.
But either writing on her own for the first time or with a co-writer to write us. I could see it. So the main bulk of this issue is that Dreamer needs to show John like a potential future that she got in the dream, and it's this awful future where Bendis and co basically destroy the entire Justice League. And it's really funny that this is like happening in this book when we've just killed the Justice League effectively.
Yeah,
in the lead up to Dark Crisis.
Funny.
Yeah, so it kind of feels like this is a bit like we've just been there and done that. So it's a bit odd. We get this big fight sequence. John has to suck in all this like Joker gas that's been released in Gotham, but it's laced with kryptonite, so he ends up dying from it as well. Everyone starts dying. Bendix is laughing, shoots Batman in the head, all that stuff. And that's like a good half of the issue or so. It is devoted to this sort of dream sequence, and then he snaps back out of it, and it's like this is what we have to stop. This is what it's going to build up to. And it's like, okay. And there's a couple of moments where John says, hey, I met like your descendant in the future, and here's like gauntlets that'll help channel your power so you can control it better. And it's, so, like, I think from a plot perspective, what it sets up is fine. I'm still enjoying the run, but I wasn't into the art. And the sad part is the ending kind of plays into the whole Jay's mum's the former president of Gamora.
Yeah.
Which is
all of our favorite plot point.
Yeah, it's basically like, don't get me wrong, it makes sense that when Bendix finds out that it's him, and or even just there's a guy on the news earlier on who says, see, this was always political, it's the son of the former president. Right. Like, I'm okay, it makes sense that the characters would react to that and use it in some way, but it did make the ending a bit of a like, okay, I guess I see why we're doing this, it makes sense, but it's calling back to my least favorite part of the run. So
yeah, it also called back to John's time in the Justice or in the Legion of Superheroes. I didn't want to remember that.
Oh yeah, sure.
So it was cool that he goes and pulls out the gloves that Dream Girl, so Jamer can kind of control the powers a little bit better. Which that was nice. It's a very John moment, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not terrible, but it is kind of a low point as far as the run goes. And I think part of it's obviously the art, part of it's just it playing on plot points that are our least favorite part. But I think the third element that kind of hurts it a bit is that the bulk of the issue is this overextended look at this dream sequence or possible future where the Justice League all get killed, which is a bummer for two reasons. One, it's like, okay, this is like, at least half the book is just this like, fantasy effectively that, well, I get that you want to do a warning, you can do it in a couple of pages, you don't have to actually see the whole fight sequence and like all the ins and outs of it. And two, the fact that we just had a death of a Justice League made it all feel just a little bit too familiar as well. So I think it all kind of adds up to just being a bit of a weird issue to read right now.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder what if they did the death of the Justice League, if it was, John not being able to save Metropolis instead of just the death of Justice League.
Yeah, it could just be John's death. Yeah, it didn't need to be the whole league.
Everything. It was a bit just too big, wasn't it?
If it would have made it a little bit better. But yeah.
Actually, just make it be Jay's death. Like, be Jay's death and then John's death. And it's just personal then. It's not,
Yeah.
I think it has to be slightly bigger than that for Dreamer to come and let him know. Like, to be like this, it has to be big enough that she needs to come in one. If it's just one person and it's not him.
Well, no, I'm saying it's like Jay's death and his own death. So I'm saying his own death is the reason enough to come and see him, I think.
Yeah.
Because it is Superman.
Just the idea that Bendix can take out the Justice League, I don't know, like...
Seems very easy, doesn't it?
Yeah, for him, like, especially that he's a Lex Luthor, wannabe at this point.
Yeah. I buy him thinking he can and wanting to, but it's another thing to say there's this possible future where he actually pulls it off,
Right, where you need everything to go. But yeah. It was fine. I'm getting a little bit worried about some of Kal-El because it feels like there's a lot more of these kind of issues lately where they kind of dip.
It's definitely a lot more up and down versus Nightwing, which is consistently just knocking it out of the park.
Also, is anyone else a little bit bothered by Bendix using Lex's color scheme?
Yes, since the beginning. It's
really bugging me, especially now, like when he's out in the field in this issue in that dream sequence, like he's there in person in his green and purple and his bald head.
Yep.
I'm like,
yeah,
it took me a second to go, oh, that's not Lex.
We get that this is John's Lex, but you could, have it be like purple and orange, for example, just to differentiate him visually.
Even just the purple and green color scheme should be off limits because that's.
There's also
there's two characters
Joker.
I think of.
Yeah, Joker's the other one. Yeah.
That aren't. Yeah.
Which
and
I actually
are the best.
I don't hate the idea that Batman and Superman's arch nemesis both have the same color scheme. There is kind of a nice symmetry to that.
I like that.
Right.
I don't want other people using it as well now.
No.
Exactly. That's my thing.
Especially when at least Lex and the Joker are so different, right? About everything about their characters.
Oh yeah, everything's different.
Whereas Bendix is pretty similar to Lex.
And you can have the same thing.
Not just the color scheme.
I'm just realizing this now, but you can have the same thing with like Flash and Green Lantern. Their arch nemesis are both in yellow as well. So it's just an interesting little comparison.
Yeah.
But yeah. So definitely a lesser issue in this run, I think. for a couple of reasons, and I don't think it's because we had this co-writer. I don't think Nicole Maines did a bad job.
Yeah, no, because the Dreamer's voice was very consistent with what I remember from Supergirl.
Yeah.
Right. So it fit, and stuff with Jay was pretty good, but like, it was that plotting of most of the issue is going to be the dream sequence retell, so.
Yeah. So, yeah, what are you giving it, Matt?
6.5.
Connor?
I'm going to be a little bit harsh and give it a 5. I think it's just average.
Yeah. Sadly, I think I have to go close to Connor here and go with a 5.5. Very middling. This was the first book I read, and it was kind of like, it started me off in this disappointing kind of mood. I was like, oh, this wasn't that great an issue.
I started with Wonder Woman, so
well, we're about to get to that. So
yeah, that's why I might have given it a higher grade.
Wonder Woman 789. Becky, Cloonan, and Michael Conrad writing with Emanuela, Lupacchino, and Eduardo Pansica on the art. So I've generally enjoyed Dr. Psycho's shtick, and the plot with Wonder Woman and Co. going after him.
You're a fan of the Milk Boys.
Milk Boys I thought was funny. The milk extra is a bit of a gag. I like it.
What's in the milk? I don't like that they had a slight reveal and then they took it away from us. What's in the milk?
Incredible amounts of sperm, Matt. That's what's in the milk.
Probably. That's what gives the testosterone, right?
I'm just imagining Matt yelling it like in 7 at this point. What's in the milk?
I might have done that while I was reading, so you're not too far off.
I love the juvenile logic there that sperm is just testosterone. That's what it's made up of.
Yeah, right? That's how I get mine. Wait,
how do you get this sperm, Matt?
Is lying to me?
How does he give you this, Matt?
All I have to do is close my eyes and suck out of a hose.
Oh, this is getting dark. All right, let's move on.
I gotta say, for the record, that's not true. That was a South Park joke. Okay, I was just going with it.
Okay.
Was no hose.
Oh dear. All right. What happened in this issue? That's a good question.
Not a lot, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot, was it?
Dr. Psycho. Which I was like, oh, so Giganta's in play. And turns out that no, he's projecting himself through the mirror lady, through what's her name,
as well, right?
That's Dolos is at the center of it, yeah. Dolos is the one who's sort of viewing it.
And for all the hubbub around Dolos at the end of the last issue, he sure didn't do much here.
No.
And then we have Dr. Calculus showing up to Etta, finding out that Etta used to have classes with him, and he got dismissed for an unknown reason, which probably
be the villain. Let's just be honest.
Yeah. Or something even maybe darker. I'm not too sure. I don't know. This whole issue was kind of a mess. With a couple bright spots.
The point of the issue ultimately is that all of Wonder Woman's friends get kidnapped by the villains by the end, right? That's the gist of it.
And since the needles don't work on Siegfried, Dr. Poison floods him with poison, like a gigantic time wave. Yeah,
Dr. Poison flooding him with poison, and then at the end, having them with needles in her hand. There was two of the visuals that I kind of liked to the issue.
Yeah.
When it plays into some of the unique villains' kind of ideas and strength, whoever's in charge and Dr. Psycho's answering to, management or whatever they're calling them just now. So, they're not going to be happy with what he's doing, so they're teasing that a little bit.
Yeah, and just the idea too that Steve knows what's in the milk, and that it almost feels like they want Steve to be the one to flip on Diane, and that's what's eventually going to break her. I do like that sentiment that goes through, and the overall, I don't know, it's not exactly satire, but just the stuff that the writers are putting in there, the social commentary that they're making, I feel lands. I just feel like it's a little bit too much. They're hitting it with too big of a sledgehammer at this point.
I'm not too bothered about how heavy the social commentary is, so much as I am just about I mean, as Connor put it, it felt like very little happened in this issue because most of it's just this fight with the Mirage and then the people behind the Mirage, and that's kind of most of what it is.
The social commentary part that really landed with me was with the duplicate of her, and then how bad that Psycho's treating her, but she seems to be the key to it all.
Yeah, Psycho says to her, "Yeah, Wonder Woman would destroy you without a second thought. I protect you. I'm the one who keeps you safe."
Yeah, and just the fact that he's constantly talking down to her, but then also, almost like he's gaslighting her at this point.
That's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, and so there's stuff that they're, but just like Dolos being the god of deception and whatnot, just felt like it didn't land right. It kind of landed flat after that last big reveal. Like I felt like it would have been a bigger part of the story, or not the story, this issue. So, but I like the art. I really couldn't tell where Pansica and Lupacchino split. I felt like it was very consistent. It wasn't too wild of a shift.
I disagree with that. I felt. Because I can really feel the Lupacchino pages. They're a lot cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the other artist? I'm blanking now.
Pansica. Eduardo
Pansica.
Yeah, I can feel them being really scratchy in comparison.
I think
all the stuff with the fight in the middle, like it's all like Lupacchino. It's so clean. And then if you look at like the last couple of pages, for example, like Psycho, the face is a lot more pudgy. It's a lot more scratchier. It felt fairly jarring to me when I was reading it. Personally.
I don't have too much problem with the transition. I would say that I think the art's obviously all reasonable, and obviously I think both are fine artists, but I think it's just something to do. Maybe it's just because most of it was this big fight. It didn't feel like it had that much of a great flow to me this issue. It just kind of felt like it was, it was just constant fight pages after another. So I didn't really feel any sort of ebb and flow to the actual structure of the comic, which is part of what made it feel a bit of a. That's what the second book I read after Superman saw Kal-El, which I was disappointed in.
What a week!
Yeah, and I was like, oh god. So the two ongoing books, which I thought were the reliable ones because of the ongoings that I've been enjoying, have an off month, and that's it's a shame, but it happens, and sometimes they'll hit at the same time, and that's just the way it is. But yeah, I don't think I've got much more to add, to be honest. Not a whole lot really.
I think it's a very mediocre issue, and this way I think at the start of the show that I wouldn't be too mad if we get a different team on Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
I feel like we're spinning wheels a lot.
I think after Dark Crisis, I feel like a few books might get new teams.
It's still a while away yet, unfortunately.
It's still a few months away, obviously, but it's about 4 months left of Dark Crisis. But I don't expect Batman to, because Batman just got a new writer, but I feel like some of the other characters might get new teams.
I can maybe see something on Action. Obviously, we know the World saga's coming to an end. I wonder if we might switch over after that. As much as we're all loving that book.
Yeah,
I can see that being a natural endpoint.
Unless Johnson's got a second saga in mind. He's got a Metropolis saga. It's possible.
More of a traditional style Superman story.
It's possible. And I think Taylor has quite a long look at what he wants to do on this book as well, on Superman.
Yeah. I'm thinking more Wonder Woman, even Flash, Green Lantern certainly could probably use the refresh.
I can't remember what Green Lantern's doing right now.
It's the John Stewart stuff with
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I could definitely see some of those books shifting to new teams, maybe around or after Dark Crisis. It just seems like a natural point to do it, especially if they're going to maybe reset a few things or clean up some continuity.
Like, there's literally one reason I'm still reading Dark Crisis at this point, and then, two. One, there's an appearance of some stuff coming up because they've already shared that pretty publicly. I'm not going to say it here just in case people are avoiding it, but you two have probably both already seen it. And then, secondly, just it's probably going to shake things up, and I feel I'm obligated to know what those are.
Yes. Can't wait till the next issue of Dark Crisis if Connor's here, so we can get dosed in negativity.
Got to balance you pair, haven't I?
What are you doing this episode? We're all a bit down on
this
the books
is
this
not
week.
such a hot episode this week.
No.
I come back and then it's like, oh yeah, great, DC Comics. Let's jump back in. I haven't read any in like a month because I'm really far behind.
Well, for
I
what it's
come
worth,
back
we
and
had
I
a
get
couple of good
this.
weeks before this. I mean,
Yeah, we had some really good weeks.
Yeah,
Connor comes back. Look what happens.
I know.
Yeah, no, I haven't read anything from last week, barring Dark Crisis. But obviously, there was the new Batman and Poison Ivy, so I'm looking forward to getting to those.
Yeah, Connor's jinxed us. That's the problem here.
Ivy's really good, Connor.
I really like the first issue.
Yeah,
I read that.
and you'll like the
last week.
second.
All right, Matt, what are you giving Wonder Woman?
Yeah, this is a 5.
Connor?
Yeah, it's another 5 from me.
Yeah, I'll give it a straight 5. So it's not the worst thing ever, but it is straight down the middle. It's just a straight mediocre comic.
I'm glad. I thought it was just me. I was like, oh, it's not clicking with me. But the fact that it's not clicking with either of you too makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, there's something sad about just getting all 5s. It's like no one's even passionate enough to hate it. It's all 5s.
It's just another issue, right?
Yeah.
It's just fine.
Yeah, there you go. Batgirls issue 8, Becky, Cloonan, Michael Conrad writing with Robbi Rodriguez on the art.
I forgot this book was still happening.
Hey, my favorite book so far. Well done. So
Kind of a low bar, admittedly.
The bar's a bit low this week, admittedly, but this 2-parter that this wraps up, has freed up some of the issues that the book had because it's it's less overstuffed. It's kind of wrapping some of the loose ends up that were still dangling from that first arc. It had Dick and Babs going undercover to the Iceberg Lounge because Seer's been kidnapped by the Saints, and there's this like secret bunker under the Iceberg Lounge they're trying to get into. So they've all dressed up. They're doing this kind of sort of heist thing. Cass and Steph are kind of acting as Oracle on the roof of the laptop, so it's kind of shaking up the the formula a little bit. Yeah, and it's mostly pretty solid. The flirting between Babs and Dick is fun. Steph and Cass, or mostly Steph, complaining about it over the comms that they're being too flirty. Also fun. They all get in the action. There's Robbi Rodriguez is not as good as the regular artist, right? But and there's a couple of weird shaped heads here or there. Whenever it does, like, there's a few moments though where it has like the Batgirls and silhouette and stuff, and I know it's easier because you're not drawn in detail, but that stuff does tend to look quite good. So yeah, the Batgirls on the roof have the sniper. They get him down. Dick and Babs go underground. One of the villains in this issue is the one who is performing on stage at the Iceberg Lounge. It's a sword swallower, so she starts pulling swords out of her mouth to hit Babs and Dick with. And there's some comedy there where Dick says it's gross and things like that. The big thing is though, to get to see her, who is still technically a child. They rescue her from the Saints, but Seer doesn't go with them, and kicks Babs out because she was going to go out last out of the escape hatch, and it all kind of comes down to Seer's still on her own, but they've destroyed her computer. She doesn't have all her tech now to do stuff, and Babs now knows her code. She knows how she works, so she'll be able to like deal with her if she does pop up again. But Seer does kill one of the Saints. Obviously, it's not something Babs did not let happen. It's just like she does it kind of by surprise. But yeah, honestly, the number one problem the book still has is the kind of like wink wink third person narration that's still there. It tends to loosen up a bit after the first couple pages, and it will come a little bit back at the end. I still don't think it's very funny. I still think it's a bit too on the nose and doesn't really work that well. But nice ending though is that Dick comes by after everything's done, and the girls have all, because they all had to escape through the sewer, so they all need showers. And Dick shows up on the fire escape with Haley, the dog, and there's a great last couple panels is him saying that, oh, you still owe me, and he sort of stops the sentence, but he's clearly going to say a kiss, and Haley's in between them, sort of looking up with like and then the final panel is them kissing, and Haley's just like got her mouth wide open in between the two of them. They're looking really happy. It's a really nice little touch. The dog really makes those last couple of panels work. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot to say. Art is good. The action flows well. I like to say some of the faces with Robbi Rodriguez, sometimes you get some weird shaped heads, especially on Babs. Whenever Babs is in portrait in the back hill, it feels like it's doing a little bit of a sort of weird angle thing. But otherwise, it does a decent enough job feeling like it's part of the series in terms of matching the color scheme and the cartooniness of it. I do hope the regular artist is back, though, for the next issue. And I've not checked to see if they are, but I would hope so. Honestly, I think what was nice about this two-parter is that it was a really fun, simple plot. had good character interactions, and it wasn't overstuffed with things, and it kind of neatly wrapped up two of the loose threads from that first overstuffed arc. So I'm kind of excited to see what they do now with a new arc at next issue. Hopefully they've learned a lesson from that first arc and it's a bit more streamlined and doesn't feel the need to put tons of stuff into it, because that was the big problem with that first one. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I had decent fun. It's not an amazing comic. I think it's a solid 7 out of 10, but like I say, it because both Superman, Son of Kal-El, and Wonder Woman under delivered this month. This ended up being like a beacon of light after the darkness.
You go, yeah, it's a solid 7 out of 10, and you were like, this is easily the best book so far.
I did rate the Dark Races one shot 7, but that was muddied in like other feelings about what it represents for the future. Yeah. Whereas this is just a 7 out of 10, and it was a decent fun. So that's Batgirls issue 8. So there you go. Naomi season 2 issue 5. Brian Michael Bendis and David F. Walker writing, with Jamal Campbell on the art. Art's very good, as you expect from Jamal Campbell. I'll just get that out of the way right away. What are you laughing at?
That you're leading with the best part of the book. That's all.
Well, honestly, it's not terrible. It's not even bad. It's just, it kind of suffers a little bit of the same thing that both Wonder Woman and to an extent Superman did, is that it's mostly just one big fight.
Yep.
Like, and to be fair, in the context of where the cliffhanger was from last, because this hasn't been fighting all series. This has been 4 issues of character work for the most part, and it had a cliffhanger last issue where Zimbado and his goons showed up. So it made sense this was all a fight issue. It did. But I read this like second last. I'd already had like 2 or 3 books that were mostly just one big fights. So I was just not in the mood for this when I read it.
You know, and it's fine. I am tired of Naomi finding out new powers every freaking time she does something. Like, that's getting old at this point. Like, I know she's discovering powers, but it's like her power is Deus Ex Machina at this point. Although here, at least it makes sense for whatever her power set is that she can redirect energy, right, and use it to hit back, you know. And, like, that's fine, but it just, again, these guys took out the Justice League in there, yet Naomi's holding them on her own, kind of, here. I was worried about her dad, because her dad felt like a red shirt throughout. But yeah, it's just a big fight scene.
I think conceptually the thing that maybe doesn't work as well as I wish it did with Naomi is the idea that she feels like she's this hero from a small town. I like those small town vibes. I like her supporting cast and her interaction with them. It's always been my favorite part of the book. I think the inherent thing of, not so much that she's from alternate dimension, that's fine, you can have that be small, but the villains that Bendis has made for her that show up are villains that can take on a Justice League. So inherently, Naomi to battle them is this super powerful, like ultra, you know, like fights in the sky, over the top, like super comic booky. And I don't know if that's necessarily what appeals to me about the character, though. You know, it's just more the family relationships. It's the character work. And
I don't care how strong she is, and if they tied her power to how much other people believe in her, fine. Because she is an inspirational character, right?
I wish it was more pared down. I guess.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not just saying this because the show just aired, but like I do kind of wish it felt a bit more Miss Marvel-y, I guess, in scope. You know, just a little bit pared down so it's not as big and epic trying to be.
Oh, right. Bendis is trying to make her like this new big character, but like you said, the stuff that we enjoy are the small moments. It was her sitting under the bleachers with her friends. In that issue, and the guy that used to be mean to her comes up as like, hey, we're cool, right? Like, I saw that you have superpowers, and I don't want to. That's the stuff that's worked, but all this, the Zimbado and the all the guys, and just her just being able to take them all on is just it's not frustrating.
You know, I think Bendis is good at individual character, making new characters, but he's terrible at villains because I feel like most of his original villains kind of suck. You know, Zimbado is just.
What's Zimbado's power? Does he have power over darkness? Have we ever established what it is?
I just thought he was big and strong.
Yeah, like I don't know this. Like he's always in shadow, so that's what I kind of figured.
I thought it was just a stylistic choice, to be honest.
Right, I don't know, but that's part of the problem, right? Like we don't know what his power set really is. And we're just told he's this big bad guy that conquered
whatever
Earth.
he wants it to be in the given issue.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So it's basically she kind of knocks him out at the end, to a point, but then she passes out from fighting so hard. And then the rest of Zimbardo's dudes are like, let's go round up this Justice League and try to take over the Earth. Basically, that's the cliffhanger at the end. It was a relatively quick read. I'll give it that. But it felt kind of unfulfilling. And again, part of it is just a circumstantial thing where it happened to come out the same week as multiple other books that were just a big fight issue. And to be honest, as much as I do really like Jamal Campbell's art, I do think some of the designs of these villains is so interchangeable with each other that I didn't even know if she was fighting Zimbardo in some panels or if she was fighting one of his goons.
Yeah.
I mean, that's because some artists are amazing, but they're not designers.
Yeah.
Right? That's why I know that there are some artists that will hire other designers to do, to design the characters for them, and then they'll draw the hell out of them.
Yeah. So I couldn't tell who she was fighting sometimes. As good as the art looks, it doesn't necessarily flow as a sequence, and not because Jamal Campbell's not good at that, but just because it's just all action. It's got all these characters that I don't necessarily know individually. It's hard to just kind of be invested in what's going on page to page because so much of it's just a schmorge of action that doesn't really have any flow or make much sense to me. So sadly, this might be the weakest issue of Naomi that we've had. It's probably my least favorite out of the both seasons, I'd say. It's not playing to the strengths of the book, sadly. So
yeah,
there you go.
I can't add anything else.
Well, in that case, rate the book, Matt.
Give it a 7.
I'll have to go with a 6, I think.
There you go.
Go with a 6 out of 10. Yeah, rough week. All right. Well, one final chance for glory. Let's hope.
Yeah.
Rogues, issue 3. Joshua Williamson writing with Leomacs on art. I left this till last. I'm glad I did because it was bloody good, and it was yes, a good book. Finally, this week.
I was doubly fortunate because it turned out I hadn't read issue 2 yet, so I got to read issue 2 and 3 of this, and I'm like, sweet mercy for giving me 2 great books.
I was in such a bad mood after reading my books up to this point. It was the last book. I was like, oh, God, this is 50 pages. Can I be arsed reading this? And it was refreshing that after a couple of pages, I was like, I'm just into this. I'm into this. I want to keep reading. I was so invested in what was going on.
Gangster Grodd is my new favorite thing.
Yes, Gangster Grodd, yes. Are we still recording? We are. I dropped a tablet on the keyboard. I was just making sure that it hit the hotkey. It's concerned. No one's muted. All right, I'm just making sure everything's still good. All right.
This is where I am baffled. For me personally, that I can despise Dark Crisis by Williamson. Yeah, at the same time, he can pull this out and just be like, no, this is incredible. It's 2 different sides of that same writer. It's baffling.
Yeah, we got Director Chase looking into the disappearance of Cole back in Central City, but obviously most of the stories in Gorilla City. We have Sam, the sort of PI ape that Cole got the info from in the first place, who has him in his custody. But it turns out he doesn't actually want to bring him in. He sort of figures out his plan, kind of pieces it together, asks a bunch of questions, but ultimately he's like, hey, you can't get into that vault. There's only one way in or out. I helped design it. However, I'll give you the plans, and I'll give you how you could get in and out, but you have to kill Grodd. He wants rid of Grodd. So this is him kind of turning his back on Grodd, which was kind of teased last issue that he was frustrated with him. So interesting, intriguing kind of spin on things. And then of course we get we see how many guards there are inside and out of the vault, so it really sets up the heist element of it, and it sets up all this stuff. We also established that Grodd's got a wife and a kid, and he's not as much of a father as he wants to be because he's too busy with all the Gorilla City business
work.
Yeah. As we find out later, he's a complete drug lord, and it's all cocaine and heroin and stuff that he's
I love how this book just became this noir heist.
Yep.
Yeah, that's quite funny.
Yeah, well, and I love too that they're like, oh, it's not all the gold is why Gorilla City. It's the drug trade that goes throughout Gorilla City, and I just love that. And that's why Grodd's so powerful.
He's literally a king at this point.
Yeah,
he is Kingpin. That's basically what he's Gorilla Kingpin. So yeah, the rest of the rogues are waiting for Cold. They're not really sure what to do, but then Cold shows up, and lo and behold, he's got maps. He's got intel that he doesn't reveal where he got it from.
Mm-hmm.
So we get the big heist actually play out. We get them going in, taking out the guards, finding just shelves and stacks of gold bars. He gets Mirror Master to open up a portal to Mirror World where they just start shoveling the gold in. Well, it specifically uses Magenta, which
kills her.
Yeah.
He drives her so hard to do every single last gold bar that it kills her, and he's so unrepentative about it. He just doesn't care.
She knew the risks.
Yeah.
This really showed Cold for him being Cold, right?
Absolutely.
Like, up to this point, you're kind of like, oh, he's trying to redeem himself, but no, it is about this last score, and he doesn't care as long as he's the last one standing, right? That's all.
Cold always talks about like, it's a family, but yeah, I think I think it's he calls him out. It's like, hey, you say it's a family, but it's all about you,
right?
This is it's not about that. It's about him proving that he's still got this. He can pull off the greatest heist that's ever been seen. It's all this ego.
And that's what he's blinded by, right? Because he pushes Magenta to the board, then he gets Mirror Master.
What's so funny about the way you described that is that I was already getting like Breaking Bad kind of flashbacks from all the gold bars. It was reminding me, when like Huel and that like lying the money in the vault. I was getting memories of that, and then the way you just described the ego thing, that's very Walter White. So I'm getting a lot of Breaking Bad from this.
It's very much kind of on those lines.
Which is funny because you wouldn't expect that from Gorilla City.
Right. No.
On face value, I'm like, it's a heist in Gorilla City, whatever, but like, it's this noir Breaking Bad-esque thing. It's so good.
The fact though that they're the stuff that's guarding the vaults, right? It's all, all the security, and then the drones that are cybernetic gorillas, and all this. But just the mundanity of Gorilla City, that they are dressed just like regular people. Yeah,
it's like this 30s 40s take on a city.
I love the balance there that they're doing, like Leomacs does in the art.
My favorite is that shot of it outside the bank where it's just all the guards like cops kind of stood there with like the typical like police mustaches and stuff, and they're all like, a little bit chubby.
2 days from retirement because then half of them die.
It's so good.
So Mirror Master has a standoff with Cold because he's not happy that he killed Magenta, and he closes the portal. So it's like, hey, if they don't have him to get to the gold, that's all like gone. It's just trapped in Mirror World basically. And then one of the the gorillas, I think it's like Grodd's like main henchman dude, I don't remember his name, comes in and just grabs his neck and crushes it. So Mirror Master's dead too. Like we're killing them off quickly here.
Yep.
So they have to fight their way out. They go running, and while this is all going on, one of them is it Heatwave that kidnaps the.
No,
it's Trickster. Sorry, Trickster. Trickster. Because he thinks, talking monkey, or talking ape, sorry. He
says monkey though. So
he does say monkey.
Shows how ignorant he is.
But he is like, oh, this will do great. Talking ape. I can put this in my show because as we learned in issue 1, he's a bit of a celebrity now. He does like variety shows, and it's like, oh, okay, that's his plan. And when they sneak into what turns out to be the distribution center, and they meet up with Sam the ape, he immediately says, "Do you know who that baby ape is?"
There's the big bit you kind of skipped over between those 2 points, where Lisa's like, "What the hell are you doing, kidnapping a baby?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Ugh, it's just a stupid monkey." And then she slits his throat with her skates.
She will kicks his throat, and now Jesse's gone.
Which, to be fair, they set up in issue 1 that her job was she was helping was it orphans specifically, or at least that was like social services. So then that ballpark,
abandoned kids.
Right, because she and her brother were abandoned by the dad, right?
So actually, it made sense in the moment. You're right. Yeah, I did gloss over that. Yeah,
but there's a huge moment where she kills one of the team.
Yeah. So Trickster's gone as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mirror Master, all on this heist. Mirror Master, Magenta, and now Trickster.
Oh, sorry, Trickster. Yeah. The only way they killed him. Yeah. So they go in. Cold freezes a bunch of the guys. Like, oh, look at all these drugs. Like, we could do something with this. Bronze Tiger just starts laughing because he thinks they're screwed.
we're so boned.
Yeah, and when so he pulls out the baby ape, and then when Sam sees him, he's like, "Wait a minute, do you know who that is? That's Grodd's kid. That's Grodd's baby." And we see him react to that as well. Grodd finds out, his wife comes in. They took our son. The end of the issue is Cold grabs the baby and says, "I know how we can get a payday. We negotiate." And he holds up the baby ape. And like, first of all, Golden Glider, given that she just killed Trickster for trying to use this baby, is going to have a problem with this. So this is so much of a bastard Captain. That's what this book is. Captain Cold is a bastard.
I went from being like, oh man, I hope he can do this because he's really struggling for relevancy, and it's Captain Cold. He deserves it. To like, oh no, dude, Grodd's got to crush him.
Again, on the Breaking Bad thing, you want Walt to pull it off. Go on, you do it. And by the end, you're like, yeah, you should probably be stopped.
Yeah. This was his I'm the one who knocks moment when he decides we're gonna hold a baby gorilla hostage.
Yeah, so I'm absolutely loving this book, and we've brushed on the art, but something that I think is
that's phenomenal.
Under talked about is the lettering. The lettering in this book is some of the best I've ever seen.
When Bronze Tiger starts laughing and it's all huge, like it's taking up the space in the panels. Such a good use of
the use of just the shape of the bubbles that's used, and then the varying sizes of the words in them.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a testament to also the writing, of course, but the flow of the art. That this is a 50-page book that I did not like. Sometimes you read the 50-page book when you're used to reading the 20-pagers, and it feels like a bit of a slog because you're used to a certain length, and it feels so much bigger. This flowed so well. I got through it without feeling any pacing or timing I never felt the length at all. It just flew in, and I got to the end, and I loved it. So much of it was methodically just going through the heist, and it almost feels like, oh yeah, if you're going through something methodically, shouldn't it feel slow? But no, it feels like captivating because you're every part of the heist or the action that's going on. I understand the content. To contrast it with the Naomi issue this week, where parts of the action were just masses of explosions and punches and kicks, and I had no context for who was punching who. Every single page in this, there was a context of who was doing something and part of the plan. You understood to some extent why they were doing it, because okay, clearly you're taking out these guards here so that the next person can go in and use the mirror gun there and get everything flowed to the next action, and it always felt like I could the plan. Not that I knew what the plan was in advance, but I was seeing it unfold, and it all worked as it was unfolding. So it was really enjoyable to actually read through.
It was just an absolutely fantastic book. There's very little to complain about.
I needed this. Really. I needed this after the rest of the books.
Yep. This is the last thing I read before bed last night, and it felt very good.
I also left it till last, barring my Patreon books that we'll get to soon. But because I read issue 2, I was like, oh, issue 2 was good, and then I came back and read all the other issues, and then I was like, I'm really glad I left. I was banking on it, being as good, if not better than the second issue. For the record, I actually think it's better than the second issue. But I was banking on having that at the end to get to, and I'm so glad.
Moment that the pacing really worked for me was when they get there and it's established that there's no back door to this bank, right? Because Sam and Gorilla Grimm designed it, and then Gorilla Grimm shows up and it's like, well, we'll just send him in through the back door. And he's like, well, no, the bank doesn't have one. He goes, you think that I didn't update this thing? Come on. And just the whole thing that Sam, it's what you don't account for.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it leads.
Movie that all that went to shit.
Yeah, that's essentially what leads to Mirror Master's death. That's why the other gorilla goes up and snaps his neck.
Just the look on Sam's face of like, oh no, I messed up big time.
Yeah.
It's so, again, it feels like a quality heist movie. Now everything is completely gone to shreds. And how are we going to get out? Now it becomes a negotiation. Which I was not expecting whatsoever. When they introduced God's wife and kid, I was just like, oh, they're going to do like a Godfather, don't talk to me about my business.
Which was definitely part of it.
Yeah. But, it served another purpose. And we know how much, Grodd might be a bastard, but he cares about his kid.
And I would go as far as to say he cares about Gorilla City. It showed an issue there's definitely inequality. There's poverty as well, but also on the whole, it's a very rich sea, right? Comparatively to where it was before Grodd.
Yeah. So, yeah, excellent. These Black Label books mostly have been killing it, to be honest. Like, there's very few that have not. But I mean,
this is up there with the best of them.
Were you here for Andromeda, Connor? I don't think you were.
I was not. I read the first issue. Oh my god, I loved it.
We loved it as well. Although what we noted is that the Aquaman parts were almost the least favorite parts. It was everything else which was like amazing on the ship and the sub.
Yeah.
But anyway, Rogues, that's your theme, Matt. What are you rating it?
This was a 8.5.
Connor?
I'm going with 9.5.
I'm going to split the difference and call it a straight 9. So
there
you go. So every month at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, you can make myself or Connor read a book at one of the higher tiers. And Connor's got a couple to catch up from last month because he couldn't make the show for a little bit. So first up, Batman Fortress issue 2. Take it away.
Yes. Gary Whitta writing.
Actually, see, before you get into issue 2, I'm just going to my main complaints from issue 1. I just want to see if they're going to hold true for you as you talk about issue 2. Is too much pop culture referencing, too much re-establishing of like too many Batman tropes, and like, you know, mentioning the perils in the alleyway and mentioning like this is why he doesn't kill, this is, you know, why the Joker's his arch enemy, blah blah. I'm just curious if those are still a problem.
I would say no, actually. I don't recall any real. Well, there's referencing to like social media in terms of pop culture, but no, like, I'm assuming you're talking about like referencing movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, there was a couple of those.
That's not really in here. And again, with the Batman past, also not really in it. I guess they did that already, so they kind of got out of the system.
Yeah, the other thing was just some really dodgy like Batman narration and like just off dialogue.
There's not much narration. Do you know what I would say? I don't think there's any narration at all in this issue. It's all dialogue.
Oh, there was a lot of it in the first issue.
Yeah, there's not a single narration box in this issue.
Oh wow, okay. Very different beast then. Okay.
Yeah. Still bad though. I'll just get that out of the way. But maybe for different reasons. Also, he turned Barry into a creep. Like, so the opening of the issue is like an emergency Justice League meeting because they're like, hey, aliens and shit. They're like, where's Kal? And he's like, yeah, not here. Reasons. They don't actually know. And they're like, oh yeah, Jessica's not here either. And they're like, yeah, someone says to Barry, goes, yeah, she probably had enough of you creeping on her. And he's like, I'm just asking her to be a friend on Instagram. And then someone pipes up and goes, yeah, that's after she's already blocked you everywhere. I'm like, oh man, why? Why is Barry a creep in this?
That's a bit of an odd choice, but yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then they just say, they just say Superman's AWOL for reasons unknown, and the Lanterns haven't responded, so we're on our own. So they're like, oh, there's all these combined air forces of like a bunch of countries that are just going to do an attack and just hit them with everything. We're just going to join them. So you have a good handful of pages of just all these planes flying at the big stuff in the sky and going for an attack, and you've got the Justice League flying alongside it. You got the Batwing, you got Flash just kind of stood on the wing of one of the planes, Martian Manhunter, Cyborg, Hawkman all flying, Wonder Woman's in her invisible jet with Aquaman as a passenger. Oh, I lied. There is a movie reference.
Oh, there you go.
There is. Flash is. They're all like checking in, ready to engage and stuff on the as they're flying in, and Flash says Red 5 standing by, and then he goes, "Sorry, I just always wanted to say that."
That's understandable though.
That sounds like just a sort of clunky reference I hated in the first issue. So
I'll be honest with you, it didn't stick out to me because it was the only one. So
sure.
One reference isn't that big a deal.
I think what bothers me more about that is I always wanted to say that after it. That's like the self-referential
I would
part
agree
I
with
like.
that. If he just said the Red 5 standing by, that probably wouldn't bother me too much.
Because I am so sick. Like, not to just rag on the Marvel movies again, but someone pointed out that they've repeated the "that's really your costume" or "that's really your name" joke like so many times.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh god, they have done this a lot. Oh my god, this is so annoying. Stop doing this.
yeah, I saw that. But yeah, basically, the big sphere egg thing in the sky that they're attacking just decimates everyone, just destroys everyone except the Justice League. who are basically all fine. But every other plane from let me just list off all the people involved in this strike. You've got NATO, China, Ukraine, Japan, India, Pakistan, Australia, Israel, Egypt, and South Korea. So that's 10 air forces combined launching this attack. Every single one of them is gone. Every single plane except for the Justice League within like 3 pages, who are miraculously untouched. Actually, I think Wonder Woman's ship's got a slight hit, but she's still flying. Like, she's fine. But there's no one else there except the Justice League at this point. And then it starts taking out the Justice League. It does something where it turns them to like foam dust. I don't know quite how to describe the effect. They get hit by something, and it's like they're like. I don't know if it's like something going over them, like some sort of like fuzz going over them. It's a strange effect. And then Cyborg gets sliced in half. Because sure, why not?
But he's dead?
Not quite.
Okay.
I mean, his lower half. I mean,
true.
It does slice him like shoulder down across his chest.
He's fine then, because that's where the robotics start.
Yeah. He does seem like, but he's like Batman comes to visit him. He's in like the not a hospital bed, but like they're on a Navy ship. So they're in like emergency bed, hospital stuff. They've had divers recovering, the team apparently, and he's dying. So Barry's gonna be fine because he was injured. Diana, Jean, Arthur, and Carter were all cocooned and taken inside the ship. So that's kind of like what the fuzz thing I was talking about was. And Cyborg mentions that he couldn't really penetrate most of the shields, but what he did scan, it seemed to be Kryptonian. And Batman's like, hey, don't worry about it. We'll fix you up. And Cyborg's like, no, it's too late. I'm dying. You go save the rest of the planet. If anyone can do it, it's you. And then it does the big, one of those, long beeps on the ECG. It's just like, oh, that's it. He's gone. You have some stuff with Batman done with Alfred being angry that all this is happening. It's like, Alfred has been like, do you want to take some rest? Maybe have a fresh start of this in the morning. And Bruce just staring at him. It's like, I'll bring some coffee. And then Bruce opens a briefcase and he's like, sorry about this, but we've got work to do. And inside the briefcase is just Cyborg's head. And Cyborg doesn't say anything. I'm not sure if Cyborg's actually still alive. And like it's going to be a case of Batman talking with a decapitated Cyborg and kind of doing stuff like that, or if it's going to be just he's using it to download all the data that Cyborg scanned. We don't know yet. But then the last thing is it just cuts to Kansas and it's the Kent farm, and some beings come out of a ship, and they're like, oh yeah, he's not here now, but he was. This was clearly his childhood home. And then there's a new family there living there now, and they were like, hey family, you should probably leave, because the Kryptonian was here, so this place has been tainted by his presence and must now be cleansed. And the family are like, oh, this is our home. What are you gonna do? And this purple alien who seems to have like a burnt side of his face just says, what his people did to mine, and then they're just walking away, and it's the Kent farm in flames. And that's the end of the story. Weirdly, even though it's a new family living here, they still have Kent on the letterbox. Don't ask me why. Just in case you didn't figure out it was the Kent farm, I guess. Because they don't like we're getting that just from context. Oh, it's Kansas, it's a farm, so you kind of get there already. And then they're talking about the fact that this was the Kryptonians' home, so it's pretty obvious. But the final page still has them walking away, and it still has Kent written on the letterbox, even though it's a different family. I don't understand why they would still have a different family's name on their letterbox, but whatever. Yeah, no, it's just not a very good issue. It's very different problems to what you had with the first one. This is just not particularly well written. It's not that great in terms of its plot. It's very generic invasion stuff. Batman's very just aggressive and hasn't got much personality to him. The
Yeah,
Justice
kind
League
of.
are outright unlikable for the most part.
I felt that he was just kind of aggressive in the first issue as well. He was very one note.
It's not quite all-star Batman, but it's closer to that than continuity Batman. And then on top of that, I'm just not a fan of Derek Robertson's art. I never have been. Especially his faces. I just really don't like them. But that's a taste thing. I don't think it's objectively bad. I know he definitely has fans of his art. It's just not for me.
I genuinely don't remember what I thought of the art in the first issue, so I can't say.
It's the same artist from he did all like The Boys. So if you've seen like panels of that,
I'm sure I have at some point, but I never read The Boys.
He did that Hellblazer issue with it was a mini with Tom Taylor.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember reading the first issue of that.
Yeah, it's the same artist that.
Yeah, Pete's gonna remember Hellblazer, Connor.
No, but he read that one because it was Tom Taylor.
Yeah,
and then it was really underwhelming. Even I was like, yeah, this is great. This is. I'd say it's probably not as bad as the first issue sounds like, but it's just not very good. I'm gonna give it like a 4.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Oh well, well there you go. What's your second Patreon book?
Noctera issue 9, which is Scott Snyder and Tony Daniel, and it's still good. It's still really good. There's a bit more flashbacks. We're talking about how the stuff before everything went dark, and it's this character's perspective being a lot of people our age. I like talk about what they would have done if life had been normal. But instead he's like, no, it's fine because.
Oh, this isn't the book. I thought you meant like in the real world because of the pandemic. If the life was normal, what would we have done?
Do you know what? Give it a couple of years and people will be having those discussions.
I mean, I already have. I would have gone to so many places.
This is talking about like people who were like 12 to 15 sort of range when this event in this book happened. It's like, what would they have done when they grew up? What would they have done with their lives? I'm sure there are definitely people who are changed their life plans at that kind of age of their life because of what had happened in the last couple of years in reality as well.
Yeah, Matt was going to get in and out, but he went to Taco Bell instead.
Dude, he couldn't go inside In and Out, so the drive-thru took forever. So that's why I went to Taco Bell.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah, I was right.
But yeah, they last issue they captured like Bill, like Blackstop Bill. There, they did a whole thing like to track him down. And it turns out they're kind of working together now. They get some info from him about this place that trains and transforms killers into being people like him. And it's a place called Luna. And it's this experimental ground. They've got their own beliefs and kind of like what they want the place to be. And they turn people into what he is. Like they're kind of like, I use the word nocturnes, which kind of like, it seems to be like a version of the Shades. They're corrupted, but they still have their own will. He talks a little bit about the rivalry he had with the other Bill, that he made everyone called William, which was stuff we talked about last issue. We saw him there. There's some more action stuff. They're fighting some Shades. It's all good stuff. It all looks great because Tony Daniel's art is fantastic. And they're being hunted and they're driving Bill's truck. One of them is, and Bill's like tied up in the back because they don't trust him, understandably. But he's yelling at them, "Hey, press the button. Press that button. That'll help. Press that button." Eventually, they do, and it's all these shades come flying out the back of the truck. It like opens up a door, and they're like human shades, and they're like, "What the hell?" And it turns out they're all like small. And they're like, "Oh, these are kids that they experimented on that they've like captured and are using them as like just weapons." And yeah, it's pretty dark. But that is most issue. They're right. Okay, let's head towards Luna and we're gonna have these problems with this other Bill on the way probably. But let's just keep moving. And Bill saves one of them at the end. Like she thinks he's gonna kill her because he's gotten out of his handcuffs. he's pulling out a knife. It is that really typical thing that you've kind of seen in a lot of movies where they've got the knife or the gun, and you think they're going to attack the character, but then they stab or shoot something next to them that they've not seen yet. He just does that with something, through the side of the van. But yeah, it's very much a transition reissue, which is kind of natural at this part of the arc, like second, third issue in an arc. You kind of get this point of like, okay, let's kind of move on, like, and we get towards the next bit. So it's not the most exciting issue of the book, but it is very solid again still, and kind of building up this mythology with these rival factions and kind of what they're doing. Few little nice little character beats of sharing some food that's terrible, but they're kind of sharing it anyway. Try to force each other to eat it. You have it. It's fine. It's fine. I don't want it. And Bill, it's kind of really interesting how he was the villain of the first arc, and he was kind of terrifying in that arc. And him being here, kind of cut down to size and interacting with our group a lot more, as opposed to just being this unstoppable force that was chasing them. Now has a lot of personality. It's really fun to see. But yeah, no, I'm still enjoying the book a lot. This issue, probably 7.5. So I don't think it's a standout amazing issue, but it's still really good.
Okay. Well, there you go. That'll take us out the part of the show. We pick our favorite stuff of the week, favorite panel / moment, favorite cover, favorite art, and of course, top 5 books of the week. And what a interesting list those will be this week. Matt, what is your panel / moment of the week?
It's going to be from Rogues, and it's when Glider takes out Trickster. It was a real holy crap moment.
Yeah, cool. Connor?
Yeah, I'm just trying to pick something from Rogues as well. Because, I mean, limited choice, let's be honest. Joe, I think I'm going to go with that moment of all just the guerrilla cops stood in front of the bank, just because it gave me a chuckle just seeing them all like that and just being so stereotypical kind of lazy cops.
Yeah, I think I'd probably go. I'm not sure if I want to go with the Mirror Master neck crush, or if I want to go more with the moment where Magenta dies and like coldness about it, effectively. I'll go with that. I think that moment really stuck out to me as just being this cruel beat. So I'll go with that. All right. Cover of the week. I've got 2 picks for this. Obviously, the Rogue's regular cover with Grodd in the suit is very, very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
I also your other one.
Sorry?
Is your other one a Batgirl variant?
It isn't, no.
Oh.
It's a variant for the Dark Crisis one shot. The beach variant, which is
That's very nice.
Superman in a Superboy in his Robin outfit flying past the Daily Planet globe. I think I'll probably still pick the Rogues cover overall, but that one is very good, so I want to give it a shout out. Connor?
Yeah, the Rogues cover's the obvious one, I think. But I'm going to give a shout out to the Batgirls variant. I'm trying to see whose variant it is. Audrey Mock is them sitting on the sign. Oh, it's nice. But the Rogues cover does.
I like the concept of that cover. I'm just not a fan of the art style.
I am.
That's fine. Matt, what are you picking?
I love the defiance in Connor. He's like, yeah, it just doesn't work for me. Well, it works for me.
Yeah, it was my pick.
He's a little prick. He's a little prick.
Yeah,
man.
it's so funny.
Oh, yeah.
It's the Superman one you brought up. The Dark Crisis one with John and Clark over the Daily Planet.
Yeah, Steve
Very,
Beach.
Alex
Steve
Ross-esque,
Beach.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's very Alex Ross, yeah.
I like it a lot. Now I have to look at this Batgirls one.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, to see what Connor likes that Pete doesn't.
I don't know. It's just a cheerful little cover. I don't think it's as stylish as the other ones that we've mentioned, but bright and colourful. It's nice.
All right, Connor, what's your art of the week?
It's Rogues. Leomacs. It's not even close.
Aye. Matt?
What if I said anything but Leomacs?
You'd be lying.
Would you guys have me committed? But it's Leomacs.
Yes. Yeah, also it's Leomacs. That's an easy choice this week. All right, top 5 books of the week, Matt. Go.
1 Rogues, 2 the World Without Justice League Superman, 3. Did I put this one? I'm trying to remember my scores. 3 Naomi, 4 Superman, Son of Kal-El, 5 is Wonder Woman.
Connor?
Okay, so Rogues. Gaping chasm of 4 full points from my rating system. I think next was Superman, Son of Kal-El. Well, it was a 9.5 down to a 5.5, and then Wonder Woman.
Yeah, number 1 for me is obviously Rogues. Number 2 is Batgirls. Number 3 is Worlds Without a Justice League Superman. Number 4 is Son of Kal-El. Number 5, Naomi? Yeah. There you go. So, yeah. Rough week, you know? Rough week overall. It's a shame. But let's hope some good things are coming.
There's at least one good book next week.
There's a couple good books.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be the judge of that.
I literally got as far as looking at the first book on the Comics, and I was like, well, there's at least one.
Well, coming next week from DC is Nightwing 94, The Flash 784, Batman Superman World's Finest issue 5, Batman the Night issue 7. Last issue of that, by the way, Connor, is the best issue of it yet.
I haven't read that yet.
And this one has Zatanna in it.
Oh, man. It's all coming up me.
Yeah.
Get it.
Catwoman 45, Jurassic League issue 3. That got pushed up. I mean, I don't know if it was ever solicited for last week, but in terms of compared to last month, it's a week later.
My God, if we would have had that this week, we would have had something else to be excited about.
I know, I really enjoyed issue 2 of that as well.
Yeah. Dark Crisis Young Justice issue 2 next week. DC versus Vampires All Out War issue 1. So this is the 6-issue mini that's running alongside the back half of DC versus Vampires. So that's cool. Black Adam issue 2.
Did you guys enjoy the first one? I've not read it yet.
Yeah, cool. Honestly, it was about. There was one element of it I wasn't super hot on, but I actually quite liked it overall, though.
That's good. I'm pretty excited for it because, Priest.
Priest dialogue though is Priest dialogue.
Yeah,
I like Priest dialogue.
The only thing I'll say about it is that sort of regular human Black Adam, when he's not Shazammed up, is a little weirder than I would have expected. The characterization of him, but everything it's doing with
it was bringing that back.
Yeah. But everything with like the new successor, if you will, I really like that stuff. So, I definitely give it a shot. Justice League versus Legion of Superheroes issue 4. So Matt's
got at least 2 good books.
He's reading that next week.
No, I still haven't read part past 1. So
Fables 153, Artemis Wanted issue 1.
It's just a one shot, I believe, kind of following on from the Trial of the Amazon stuff.
Yeah, I'm good. Aquaman and the Flash voice on issue 2, and Looney Tunes issue 267. Yeah, it's a healthy week next week with some exciting books, particularly Nightwing, World's Finest for me, Jurassic League, and
I will say, as much as none of us are going to read Artemis Wanted, so this is why I mentioned it now because it won't get shouted out next week. The Becky Cloonan variant for that is gorgeous.
It's also following up her. Apparently, she was responsible for the death of Hippolyta. So,
can you tell we all paid attention to Trial of the Amazons?
Yeah.
Well, we never finished. So
I never started.
But, I read the first issue, I think, didn't I?
I was away that week.
Okay.
I was like, oh, no one's reading it. Okay, I won't bother.
I read the first issue. I gave it a try. Was not for me.
Yeah. It's annoying as well that I really like those Catwoman covers still, because the book was not super hot, obviously.
No,
but I do think they're very stylish covers that I do like. Just the main ones.
Yeah, and according to Batman last week, Catwoman's shacking up with that dude none of us liked.
Shocking.
Well, me and Matt didn't like. You weren't as down on him as we were.
I didn't hate him, but I get it. But I still need to read Batman from last week. I might read it tonight, just to get going. I'm intrigued because it was the first Starsky one, right? Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, that's what's coming up next week from DC Comics. I'll take this time to thank our Patreon producers for the month. It's one of the higher tiers over at Patreon. You can go over there and obviously support the show for as little as $1 per month. $5 gets you early access. You get it whenever it's ready on the Saturday versus the Sunday, and it's quite late in certain time zones on the Saturday. But you get it a bit early. It'll be there for you on Sunday morning if you want it early. But thank you to the Patreon producers of Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Sharp, Board Now, Christopher Moy, David Brown, Al Tradesman, and Alison M. Fordyce. And of course, you can like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications on YouTube, rate us 5 stars on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from. All those things do help. So please do them. And you can get us on Twitter at DC Comics Podcast if you would like to follow us for occasional updates, if there's any reason to update you on anything, or you can ask us questions. Occasionally, if there's a really quiet week, we might ask for questions to fill the show with, but we do a good job bullshitting most of the time. But yeah, that's pretty much it though. That is the show, and we are likely to have solicits next week, so should be a bulky one. So look forward to that. But that is episode 314. So thank you very much once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.
Like Connor did on vacation.